Plains, good evening from Centennial High School. Welcome to the Yosemite Division large school semifinal matchup between Bakersfield High School and the Golden Hawks. And the first time they played this year, Centennial defeated BHS 14-10. In fact, Centennial has won the last two games between these two schools, 14-10. BHS winning the first encounter a couple of years ago, 21-0. So the Golden Hawks have a two-game winning streak over BHS. But this really is the biggest game they have played yet so far in their very early rivalry.
The left tackle, B.J. Tittlemeyer. The left guard, Brian Strain. The center, Brandon Cope. The right guard, Justin Greenmore. The right tackle,
we're here at Golden Hawk Stadium. Centennial looking to advance to the finals. They're 10-1. Of course, BHS 9-2 for the year. Last time, as you mentioned, Centennial won 14-10 earlier this year, so we'll talk more about that as time allows.
Sean Alexander is the quarterback for Centennial. They get the ball to Morales, and BHS stops him on the first play. Sean has played 5 games, all victories. He possesses a little more running speed than the previous quarterback, George Valles, and has passed the ball very well this year, so he offers a little bit more diversity. Jesse Morales has been the top running back all year long for the Golden Hawks, 17 touchdowns, over 1,200 yards. They have a very outstanding offensive line, a very tough defense, just like they did earlier in the year. BHS is a team that has come alive, and maybe a weaker league, the Southeast Yosemite League, but since they lost to Centennial, they have really dominated their opponents. Second down, 2nd and 10 for Centennial. Morales scoots his way for 2 or 3 yards off the right side. Talk about a dominating defense performance by BHS last week in the game that you saw on Time Warner. They defeated Golden West 40-7. It was 12-7 in the first half, but the Drillers had an interception return for a touchdown by Bryce McGill. James McGill intercepted the pass at a 15-yard line to set up their 3rd score of the night. And really with the defense, they faced a lot of passing employed by Golden West in that game, which was a story for BHS.
Well, Mark, on the screen there that showed Morales' rushing totals for the year. As it noted, over 1,000 yards this year. He's been a very effective runner for Centennial this year, senior tailback.
There on the eye at 3rd and 7. Alexander rolling to his left. Fires it over the middle. Picked off by James McGill to the 24-yard line. James, who is the quarterback for BHS, just like he did last week, intercepts a pass, right place, right time.
Well, Mark, that was a throw to Justin Roberts, but BHS had zone coverage and man-to-man in that situation. They were in zone and double covered Roberts. He threw it right into the defensive stronghold there, and, of course, McGill made a nice interception.
Well, the problem is, Dan, is Justin Roberts is about 5'6", McGill is 6'3". And I don't think he played defense the first time these two teams played. He's a very versatile athlete for BHS. Over 1,000 yards passing, 12 touchdowns, a great percentage. And he's run for over 500 yards, over 100 last week, and a couple of touchdowns. Number 13. Pitch back to Alan Mackey, left side, good blocking to the 20-yard line. Look at that speed, drag down. It'd be close to the first down marker.
Well, Mark, we've talked a lot about turnovers and mistakes, and the last couple times these teams have played, Centennial has gotten the best of them, 14-10. Bakersfield has made the mistakes, the turnovers. Tonight's game, that's the first turnover in the football game, and of course it goes against Centennial, but that'll be a key tonight. Who can play error-free football? And of course tonight, the field a little bit slick. We've had some rain. It makes it very difficult to keep your footing, but I think the team who can turn the ball over the least amount tonight will really be victorious.
Well, Centennial is not coming off an outstanding performance last week in the victory over Mount Whitney. I think they turned the ball over 4 or 5 times. Alan Mackey, the ball carrier now, the first time these two teams met, he was not even playing running back. He was strictly, like Bryce McGill, defensive back. Both those guys are kind of alternating with each other in the backfield for BHS. So the Drillers are, showing a little bit different team than the first time these two teams met.
Well, I think in this situation, as far as this game is concerned, Mark, whoever can be most effective in the red zone will be the team that really comes out victorious, because these teams can move the ball in the middle of the field, but can they get the ball in the end zone, especially when both teams are in the red zone? That'll be a key.
It's like an inside keeper. And BHS does have the first down inside the 15-yard line.
Mark, you talked about Bakersfield High, and they had that that streak in the middle of the season where De La Salle beat them 48-20. Then they beat Clovis 28-13, and then of course they get beat by Centennial 14-10. But since that time, they have been on a roll. They have outscored their opponents 303-37 since that time. So they have been really red hot.
You definitely can say that is awesome. Pat Osborne wide to the right, kicker extraordinaire, wide receiver, punter for BHS. McGill looking for him, lost it high into the air, overthrows him though.
McGill's pass intended for Osborne is incomplete.
Pat Osborne, the intended receiver, number 4 for BHS.
Supplying the defense for the Golden Hawks.
Well, Mark, that was fine coverage on Osborne that time, kind of a fade pattern in the end zone. They like to throw that to Osborne, get it up high. And, of course, it's 6 feet 3. He can out-jump the defender, but he was just overthrown.
BHS this year has run for over 2,000 yards. They passed for over 1,200. 3,200 yards in total offense, 341 points. They allowed only 106 points. 1,000 on the ground, 739 through the air. Pitch back, Mackey. Strung out very well by Centennial to the 15. Knocked out of bounds, barely gets back to the line of scrimmage. And Centennial is a team that is very difficult to run through the outside against. BHS has been successful with most of their opponents going to the outside, but Centennial has been doing a great job this year stringing plays out, and they have a lot of speed defensively.
Well, I think Centennial, Mark, is there's no question their defense is strong. And even though Bakersfield has been more impressive maybe the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season, Centennial's defense has been consistent and solid all year. They might have struggled a little bit offensively with the change of quarterback, but defensively, they've always been there. And, of course, they're playing here at Centennial in Golden Hawk Stadium. They don't want to get beat at home, so it should be a doozy of a game.
3rd and 11 for BHS at the Golden Hawks 15-yard line. They're showing blitz. McGill, straight drop back. Here comes the rush. Fires it out. Almost picked off. A dangerous pass intended for Bryce McGill. Great pressure defense by Centennial. And McGill, James, almost threw it away.
Well, Mark, that's a situation, 3rd and 11. They were coming with the blitz. You could see it all the way. McGill did not call an audible. He didn't change the play. And, of course, he was flushed out of the pocket and threw the ball out to the left flat. And, of course, the defender was right there. And could have been an interception. But, again, good play by Centennial. Anytime you get Bakersfield 3rd and long, they have to throw the football. You can really put the pressure. They came with about 8 players that time. Really got good push on the offensive line.
Pat Osborne will try a 32-yard field goal for BHS. Left-footed punter and left-footed kicker. It's a line drive. It is good. A 32-yarder by Pat Osborne, number 4 for BHS. The Drillers on the scoreboard first. 9:31 in the first quarter. 3-0 BHS.
Well, Mark, I think that was a victory for Centennial there to hold them to 3 points. And Bakersfield has really been hot as of late. They got the big turnover and only got 3 points out of it. So you could say in that situation in the red zone that Centennial, I think, came out a winner there to hold Bakersfield to only 3 points. That doesn't really hurt you much. And so the defense of Centennial came through, and that's really what's really made them solid this year. Bakersfield High, of course, with the field being a little bit wet, I think it's going to affect the passing game more than the running game. But these teams know each other so well. I mean, they've played against each other a lot. They've watched a lot of film, and they really know what each other team's going to do. So there's no surprises there. They tried to run off tackle, tried to go wide a few plays. Centennial really strung it out and did a good job. Then he tried to throw the ball to Pat Osborne. I mean, that's pretty predictable. And you got to give Centennial credit. They really did a good job there. But as we talked about earlier, both the last 2 times they played have been low-scoring games, 14-10. With this rain, it probably won't be a high-scoring game. You can just not afford to make turnovers. That turnover cost Centennial 3 points.
And they basically threw the ball into double zone coverage. Kickoff goes out of bounds at the 15-yard line by Osborne. The rain has let up somewhat. It was pouring quite substantially prior to the game when we were getting set up. Move right to left across your TV dial. And BHS in the other direction. BHS with their dark blue pants, white jerseys, and blue letters and blue helmets. And Centennial, gold and red, the Golden Hawks, the Drillers. The 4th meeting between these 2 schools in 3 years, and the 2nd one this year.
You know, if you're Bakersfield High, you're sitting there thinking, hey, we got beat last year 14-10. We got beat earlier this year 14-10. When are we going to beat these guys? I mean, these are the only guys who've been beating us. I mean, so, it's tough to beat Bakersfield twice in 1 year, and they're trying to do it tonight, Centennial.
Aaron Graham, the outstanding linebacker for BHS, number 33, headed to USC. He's never been on a team that has defeated the Golden Hawks. Morales right side, and Graham makes a tackle, number 33, the guy I was talking about. He said he's going to do everything in his power to make sure he doesn't get defeated by a Golden Hawk team. This is his last chance.
Well, Mark, at 6'2", 220, maybe he can go to USC. Maybe they can beat UCLA for after about 8 straight times.
Well, Aaron had his first 2 years at South High, and they lost to Centennial when he was a member of the junior varsity team. Then they've lost the last 2 years to the Golden Hawks, and he wants to make amends for those.
Well, Mark, maybe you should have had a talk with him about going to UCLA instead of USC.
They did recruit him, UCLA, but he chose USC over the Bruins and over Washington. Said it rains too much up there in the Pacific Northwest. Alexander play action. Pretty good rush. Fires it over the middle. It is caught by Alexander. Lancaster's going to go. 20-10. Touchdown. He was not the intended receiver. It hit off another receiver and bounced into his hand. And Trevor Lancaster takes it the distance. What a break for the Golden Hawks.
Mark, that was a 65-yard pass play to Alexander. And again, the Golden Hawks a little bit fortunate. Boy, I tell you, everything looks upon them good when they play Bakersfield High, it seems like. The pass was a little bit overthrown, and it was tipped in the air. Alexander came up with it and just outraced the secondary down the left sideline for the score. Golden Hawks lead 6-3, but a great throw, really, by Alexander. And, what can you say?
Trevor Lancaster in the right place at the right time on the tip pass. And he tries the PAT. That's good. 11 field goals this year for Lancaster, which is a school record. It might be a section record. They had an article about him in the paper on Thursday. Trevor Lancaster, the outstanding soccer player for Centennial, and also a very good baseball player. And he's made a habit of playing in big games. Last year, the center fielder on the Golden Hawks baseball team, who were defeated by Clovis in the finals. And the last 2 years he has played in the Yosemite Division Finals in soccer, losing last year, winning the year before. Now they're in the semifinals in football. Well, it's very interesting because that was a situation where in this game here in the first quarter, Centennial's made the big play, which is not normally their forte. They normally like to run the ball down the field, grind it out. And they're not always really a big play team where they can score quickly. That's more Bakersfield High's forte, especially later on this year. Bakersfield's been making big plays, but so far in this game, Centennial's made the big play, leads 7-3. So interesting start to this game, Mark. It looked like Bakersfield had a little bit of momentum there, and then Centennial just grabbed it right back with the pass play, 65-yarder. That's what makes this series so exciting. I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. You think Bakersfield coming in had the edge, getting beat 2 straight years, being very impressive, especially in league play, really being more impressive than Bakersfield. Jared Bright with a beautiful kickoff. Bryce McGill down in the end zone. They take it out the 20-yard line. You can't run out a kickoff when it goes to the end zone. So Trevor Lancaster have been kicking off most of the time for Centennial this year, but Jared Bright doing a great job as Trevor's seen more time at wide receiver and returning kicks. And I had an article in the paper about Trevor Lancaster and what he has meant to the Centennial team. Originally, the coach had to urge him, coerce him to come out for football just to be a kicker. And he is continuing to want more of a role in this team. Bryce McGill left side, hitting the backfield. Scrambles around across the 20 to about the 23-yard line for the BHS Drillers. Mark, you got to give Coach Hartnett a lot of credit. When they were struggling earlier offensively, they inserted McGill and Alan Mackey, and that's really been very effective. You see Bryce McGill's statistics, offensive rushing statistics there on the screen. And Bryce has had a fine year with close to 400 yards rushing. Had over 100 yards last week, 1 touchdown rushing, and 1 on interception return. Number 5 plays defensive back, blocked a attempted field goal last week too. Bryce McGill has a first down, 30, 40-yard line, cuts back, midfield 50, stays on his feet to the Centennial 42-yard line. Bryce McGill, number 5. You got James McGill, number 13, Bryce McGill, number 5. Both guys excellent athletes. I think both will be more apt to play defense in college than offense, but we'll see what happens. Well, Mark, that was a great block by number 50, the tackle, Robert Bergman, the sophomore, 6'6", 250. Laid a great block and got McGill to the outside, picked up about a 36-yard run. There's right there, number 70, the right tackle. Centennial showing blitz, pitch back. Bryce hit the backfield. I talked about him showing blitz. Robert Stewart, nobody picked him up. And he hit Bryce McGill in the backfield for a big loss. So Centennial guessing correctly. And we have a loss of about 7 yards for BHS. Well, Centennial's been a big play defense all year, and they've been able to come up with some big plays there. And in that situation, they guessed right, blitzed, and was able to sack him for a loss in the backfield. Beggars is going to have to get just a little bit more consistent in their running game. I think they're being a little too predictable, and Centennial seems to really know what they're doing on almost every play. They really need to do some play action, maybe passes, and throw the ball downfield a little bit. Bryce McGill in motion. The pass is thrown behind Bryce and out of bounds. That could have been a lateral. Fortunately for BHS, it went out of bounds. So it wasn't good execution by the BHS offense between James and Bryce McGill. Well, Mark, basically the play wasn't going anywhere. Well, Mark, he called that a lateral, and they lost about a couple yards on the play. He did throw it behind him. Yeah, so there was a couple-yard loss there. That definitely was a live ball if it stayed on the turf in the playing field. So BHS uses more, and I talked about this during last week's game and also prior to the game tonight, BHS does not like to be in a third long situation because you know they have to throw the ball. In wet conditions, this does not look good for the Drillers. Now they're in their own territory at the 48-yard line.
Well, Mark, I think we're going to be looking for possibly Bryce McGill here, or maybe Jennings, the receiver for Bakersfield High. Either one of those players could be the recipient of a pass here.
Royce Jennings, number 20, wide to the right. Kendrick, the fullback. Bryce McGill, the tailback. James McGill, quarterback, 3rd and long. There's a reverse. Pat's going to throw it.
With the option pass.
Jennings is open. Beautiful pass. He's got it. Touchdown, BHS. Beautiful throw by Pat Osborne. Woo!
Mark, that was a 53-yard pass play to Pat Osborne to Jennings down the right sideline. He led him beautifully. Full speed down the right sideline. Beat the cornerback. Centennial had single coverage, one-on-one coverage. The left corner got sucked in on the play on the reverse. Looked like it was going to be a reverse play. They handed the ball off to Osborne, and the left corner came up just a few steps. Thought it was going to be a run to his side, and Jennings just blew by him down the right sideline. One-on-one coverage. The safety did not get over. Touchdown BHS.
What a beautiful throw by Pat. We know he plays shortstop. He has a great arm. I haven't had a chance to see him throw a football in the last 2 years. But I thought that he would be the quarterback for BHS this year. It shows you about his worth on the football field. He can do some good things.
To attempt the point after.
Now the PAT. And he kicks it up. It is good.
And it is good.
So Pat Osborne has a field goal PAT and a touchdown pass, and he led Jennings just perfectly on this rain-soaked field.
Well, that was a great throw, especially in the rain, Mark.
Beautiful spiral.
Led him perfectly, and a great catch by Jennings. He had to run under that, weave under it, and just made a great fingertip catch. And that was beautiful.
We've had some fireworks here in the first quarter.
Well, we've had some big plays. Both quarterbacks have made some long passes here, you know, and they've been very successful. 2 big pass plays by both teams. And, of course, the one turnover puts Centennial behind by 3, 10-7. But, you know, last 2 games have been 14-10. We've already got in the first quarter 10-7. So this could be a higher scoring game before it's over with. I think both teams have improved their offense since earlier in the year. So we could have a game where we don't have any defense. It's hard to believe, but you never know.
Well, sometimes on wet fields, as you know, receivers can get open because the defensive players don't know where they're going. So you would think that it would bother the offensive players, but many times you do have big plays on a rain-soaked field as the rain is somewhat diminishing a little bit.
Trevor Lancaster and Jeff Unfried.
Unfried, a very good return man for Centennial, and Lancaster's been returning them for the last half of the season. And Centennial will have it first and 10 at their own 20-yard line. Good ball game tonight from the Golden Hawks Stadium.
We'll come back to the 20-yard line.
10-7 in favor of the Drillers over the Golden Hawks. Both teams electrifying the crowd, and Dennis and myself with big plays. I think the Centennial play blew me away because it was intended for somebody else, but they had 2 receivers in the general area, and it was the ball was tipped up perfectly to Lancaster, who happened to be in the area, and he's got great speed and took it in. He's lined up wide to the right, Trevor. Mackey guarding him. Justin Roberts in motion. Tim Diaz on him. Morales at the left side has an opening. Gets by Diaz. 30-yard line out of bounds. Should be a first down for the Golden Hawks. BHS missed 1 or 2 tackles.
Morales picks up a first down.
Morales, who has 17 touchdowns this year, at close to 1,300 yards.
Dunlap and McDermott in on the stop for the Drillers.
Mark, one of the stops on defense that time was Jermaine McDermott. We've talked a lot about him. Fine defensive end. I'm sure a lot of colleges are looking at him, about 6'2", 225. Just a solid 2-year starter for Bakersfield High. He's a player to watch tonight, left defensive end. He's going to be on a lot of plays tonight.
And Dunlap converges on the tackle. Dunlap, the left outside linebacker. McDermott on the left side. First and 10 for the Golden Hawks. BHS with 4 down linemen. Long count. Tries a pitch out to Morales. Alexander goes back for it. Now gets away momentarily to the 20. Not too many people to beat. What a play by Sean Alexander as he tried to pitch the ball back to his running back. Threw it away, went back to catch it. BHS overran the play. And Sean comes back and gains some yardage.
Yeah, he picked about 3 yards on it, picked up about 3 yards on the play. But again, that was not a good play by the BHS defense. They really over pursued, a little too anxious on the play, and
they really got sucked in that time.
Yeah, they let the quarterback, after he picked up the loose ball, run right around him.
You know, you talk about whether it's special teams, whatever, you have to have containment. BHS rushed him from one side, left the right side open.
Now there's Alexander's rushing statistics for the year here on the screen.
And it's done very well this year. To run the option. Progress.
Well, Mark, so far tonight, one thing that surprised me here in the first quarter is that Centennial will be able to move Baker's High's defensive line. And, you know, we talked about, you know, Centennial not being all that impressive in some of their more recent games. Game against Stockdale and, of course, the game last week against Mount Whitney. But tonight against really a much better defense, they seem to be moving the football. So I think Bakersfield needs to make it a little more justice, maybe put more guys to the line of scrimmage, because right now they seem to be moving them out on defense, and I'm very surprised because their defensive line does not usually give up too many yards on the ground.
Well, I did the Centennial Stockdale game, and they definitely struggled against the Mustangs, who were blown out by East the following week. So I was wondering what gives. First down for the Golden Hawks. But it's very difficult to compare scores, because especially with the teams around Bakersfield, many teams play well one week and badly the next. So many teams in this area are like yo-yo situations, playing up and down, and you can't. It's very difficult to compare scores to determine how good a team is. These two teams have been the most consistent in the area. That's why they're still playing. First and 10 for the Golden Hawks. Roberts in motion. Alexander with the count. Marisic behind him. Lofts it for Trevor Lancaster. Incomplete, and a throw flag against Johnson, saying that maybe he was holding up Lancaster with the left arm. He had good inside position.
Well, Mark, I'm not sure what Nick Johnson was doing on that play. He looked at the receiver and never turned around at the quarterback and kind of bumped him. I think he just lost sight of the ball. But if you're a defensive cornerback, you've got to look for the ball. When that receiver looks back towards the quarterback, you've got to turn your head too. In that situation, he didn't do that, and that hurt him.
And Clint Kay comes in for him. Clint Kay, the right corner. Mack on the other side. Diaz back there with Bryce McGill. And then they bring in James McGill and Osborne about every other play. Move them here and there, especially in passing situations. First and 10 for the Golden Hawks at the BHS 40-yard line. Roberts line up wide left. As a pitch back to Jesse Morales. Running to the outside.
Jesse Morales.
And turns the corner, goes out of bounds after a gain of 4 or 5 yards.
Again, Bakersfield not on the right defense that time. He's able to get wide on the right side. It looked like their cornerback came up and he went right around him. Morales has very deceptive speed there, and I think some of the Bakersfield defenders were a little bit fooled by the way he can accelerate around the outside. They came up that time. He just went right around him. Of course, the field's a little bit wet, and you have to be very careful with your footing. But so far in this football game, I think Centennial has been very impressive offensively, Mark. They've done a fine job moving the football. And Bakersfield High right now is really a little bit on their heels defensively, getting dominant at the line of scrimmage.
Lancaster wide left. Roberts slot left. Split backs for the Golden Hawks. Play action. Alexander will run it. Now he decides to throw it. Wobbles it out there. It's complete. Is it complete? Yes, they say it is. First and 10 for the Golden Hawks.
Nice pass to Abernathy there, Mark. About a 15-yard pass. Again, what Alexander gives him, Mark, when he rolls out and sprints out, he gives him that mobility to run. And they don't know whether to come up and make the tackle or stay back. That time he waited until the defense came up a little bit. Then he was able to throw the ball right over the middle to Abernathy. So again, the mobility of Alexander gives him something Bayless didn't give him.
Right.
And it makes it much more difficult to really corral Alexander.
As you know, in the game against Stockdale, he had a 40-plus yard run for a touchdown off the option. And then he had a 20-yard run going back to pass. First and 10 for the Golden Hawks. Jesse Morales hit hard and thrown down. Dunlap on the tackle, 52. They give credit to Chambers, but Dunlap was there. 3:20 to play in the first quarter, and 10-7 BHS over the Golden Hawks.
Well, Mark, that was just a teaser play right up the middle, just to keep the defense honest. Alexander obviously here is going to go sprint out right or left and throw a pass if they want to score. They're not going to score running straight up the middle. That was just a teaser to keep the defense honest. Then they'll probably see if they can surprise them with a deep pass here on second down. Of course, I've always been a believer on throwing on first and second down when the defense doesn't expect it, instead of waiting until it's third and long, when everybody knows you're going to throw.
Be predictable. Second and 9 for the Golden Hawks. Alexander pitch back to Morales. Hit a backfield and dropped at the 10-yard line. Thought that maybe Sean was going to keep that time. The defense of BHS really strung it out very well. Mackey over there. McDermott, number 88.
Well, that was a nice option play by Alexander. Very impressive here in the first quarter by Alexander. I think he's done a fine job of directing this offensive attack. And Bakersfield a little bit on their heels defensively. It seems like Centennial's put in a few more plays since Alexander, since he became quarterback. They were a little more predictable in their bailouts. And I think Bakersfield is going to have to make some adjustments to his mobility.
Definitely didn't run the option that much with Dallas. 2:05 to play in the first quarter. Roberts in motion for the Golden Hawks. There's the count. Play action. Alexander lobs it into the end zone. Touchdown! Wide open. It's Jesse Morales.
Alexander's pass complete to...
It was just a matter of Alexander getting the ball to him.
Well, Mark, one thing that's really helping Alexander, he's not getting any pressure at all. I mean, the Bakersfield defensive line is just being manhandled by Centennial's offensive line. He's had all kinds of time to throw, and that time Morales just came out of the backfield. And just a 10-yard pass over the middle. The linebackers, Dunlap and Graham, were a little bit confused on it. It looked like they tried to blitz, and they got blocked by the Centennial lineman, and that left Morales all alone. And if you're going to blitz, you got to get to the quarterback, because if you don't, it's going to leave a lot of guys in single coverage, and you're going to be able to beat the defense if you blitz.
Lancaster's kick is up, and it's good. 1:55 to play in the first quarter. It's 14-10. The Golden Hawks over the Drillers of BHS. Yeah, the diversity that the Centennial Golden Hawks have is causing a lot of problems for BHS so far tonight.
Well, it was kind of a delayed blitz. I mean, what happens is he goes back to pass, and the linebackers delayed their blitz, Mark. Instead of coming in right away, they delayed it. Then they just decided to come in. By that time, it was too late. They got picked up by the offensive lineman. And then, of course, Morales just kind of slipped behind them and caught the 10-yard pass. So if you're going to blitz, you got to get to the quarterback. That's the key about blitzing. If you don't get to the quarterback, blitz is going to burn you. In that situation, Bakersfield, I thought, was burned defensively. But Centennial really looks great here so far in the first quarter. They're really moving the ball crisply, whatever say there. And they're really moving the ball well, Mark, offensively here in the first quarter.
A familiar score, but this was a score after the last two games, 14-10 in favor of Centennial. They did it again tonight, 14-10 over BHS. They're rolling in the first quarter. As Bright will kick off for the Golden Hawks. Bryce McGill, Nick Johnson. Mackey back deep for BHS. Long kick
for the Golden Hawks.
McGill was going to take it at the 1 yard line, but a flag is down.
Well, Mark, we'll see what Bakersfield High can do on this offensive series. They had a great drive on the last series. Osborne throwing the beautiful pass to Jennings for the score, but Centennial came right back and was able to run the ball on the ground and was able to throw the football in the air.
It's parking a lane. It's blocked in lane.
One thing Bakersfield's going to have to do, Mark, is get more pressure on Alexander. He just had way too much time to throw tonight.
Just inside the main gate.
I think Centennial has gotten some pressure on McGill. And if you're a BHS defense, you've got to put more pressure on the quarterback.
Please move your vehicle immediately.
They've already got 14 points. The Bakersfield High hasn't been allowing too many points at all this year, and they've already given up 14 in the first quarter. That might be a record since they played De La Salle.
Jared Bryant kicking off for the Golden Hawks.
Again.
Line drives it. Picked up by Johnson. The 20, 25-yard line. 30-yard line. Slipping tackles across the 40 and to about the 44. A very good field position by BHS. As they're down 14-10 to the Golden Hawks. 1:47 to play in the first quarter on CNNSI, Time Warner Cable Channel 52 with Mark and Dennis Heffernan. A wild and woolly first quarter here in the Yosemite Division. Large school semifinal from Golden Hawk Stadium. Packed house. Many of the people brought their raincoats, umbrellas. Dennis has brought his. I brought my hat. Pitch back, Alan Mackey. Strung out well by Centennial. Mackey trying to cut back against the grain. And maybe gets back to the line of scrimmage. It's been very difficult all year to run wide against Centennial. Oh, Mackey found out why.
Mackey stopped by Stewart.
Well, I think they want to run that play. It's part of their offensive repertoire of BHS to run that sweep, Mark, to the right or left. But Centennial's seen that sweep. You can see Mackey's rushing stats this year. When they brought Mackey in this year, Mark, along with McGill to run the ball for Diaz, after about the fourth game of the season, I think Bakersfield's offense really took off.
McGill will throw over the middle. Almost picked off. Oh, wow. By Coons. Threw it right to him.
Osborne broken up by Coons.
But James missed that pass. 45 should have had a pick.
That was Mr. Coons right to him. It was a down. It was kind of a slant in, Mark, and he just led Osborne a little too much. Coons, middle linebacker, was right there, but got so excited, thought he was going to run before he caught the ball, and of course he dropped it. But again, Centennial's defense really putting the pressure on Bakersfield High tonight, and they're getting a good push on the line. I think the difference in the game so far, Mark, is the line of Centennial's really getting the best of Bakersfield so far tonight.
Play action, McGill to throw. He's been rushed from behind. He goes down. Morisic 32. With a shoestring job by James McGill. At a big loss. Punting time for BHS.
Good pressure again. And McGill's not getting the kind of time to throw that Alexander's getting, his counterpart for Centennial. And, of course, the line play of Bakersfield High is just so far here in the first quarter is really having a problem picking up these Centennial blitzes. They're getting a good blitz. And really a great game plan by Coach Needmark. He's blitzing his linebacker, especially third and long. Bakersfield has to make yards on first down.
Well, I
They're
talked
really
about
in trouble.
the fact they don't like to be third and long. They've handled situations a couple of times tonight. Osborne punts it. Beautiful punt. He's going to Florida on a baseball scholarship, picked up by Lancaster, and he's down immediately at the 9-yard line.
Trevor Lancaster stopped by Bryce McGill.
Bryce McGill, number 5, with a tackle. Centennial back deep in their own territory at the 10-yard line, but they lead at 14-10 over the Drillers. 13 seconds to play here in the first quarter.
Mark, that was about a 54-yard kick by Pat Osborne, so he's just doing a great job all around. Punts, kicks off, can throw the football, and can catch it. He does it all. Not only is a great baseball player going to the University of Florida next fall, but he's an excellent high school football player. Probably the best athlete on the field for either team.
Lancaster Roberts wide left. Morales left side. BHS missing a tackle, and he has a first down. Dunlap was late getting there, and they've been running well to the left side.
Yeah, it seems like Bakersfield's not coming up at all defensively. I don't know if they're getting by him or whether somebody's getting blocked. I'm not sure. I'm watching that play, and it just seems like they're out of position defensively. They're not expecting that play. And Morales has great speed, just getting by him, especially when he sweeps to his left.
Bakersfield 10.
And you're watching the high school football game of the week on CNNSI, Time Warner Cable, Channel 52.
And we'll be right back.
Over the last 60 years, our law firm has helped thousands of accident victims win millions of dollars. But our work goes beyond the money. It's really about people. 15 years ago, I represented the mother of a 4-week-old baby who was permanently brain damaged when her infancy failed in an automobile accident. I testified before the legislature and fought for laws to protect children. Today, children are safer because of those laws.
When you need us, we'll be there.
Okay, we begin the second quarter from Golden Hawk Stadium on the campus of Centennial High School, with the Golden Hawks leading BHS 14-10 here in the Yosemite Division Large School Semifinal. 11:30 to play in the first half. And you mentioned, Dennis, BHS having trouble defending some of Centennial's runs, especially outside of the tackles. Alexander play action. Good protection once again. Lofts it out to Justin Roberts. Knocked away by Bryce McGill.
Pass intended for Justin Roberts, broken up by Bryce McGill.
Well, Mark, I think the big problem tonight for Bakersfield is that when they played Centennial the first time, They played against Velos, who was more of a pocket quarterback, didn't have the mobility. But Alexander poses a different kind of threat. You can look at film, but it's different when you have to play against him. He's much more mobile. As you know, noted earlier, the ball got by him. He was able to pick it up. Instead of getting a loss, he made a little bit of a gain. He's been scrambling in the pocket, getting himself away from the pressure, throwing some passes downfield. It's just bothering them more. They're not able to handle him so far here in the football game.
And they're not rushing him aggressively either. 3rd and 7 for the Golden Hawks, split backs behind Alexander. Play action, rolling to his right. Ball is complete to Roberts, but he might be shy of the first down. Great hit by Alan Mackey, number 2. Mackey saying he is shy. We can't really tell from our vantage point,
by Mackey.
But I think it'll be 4th down for the Golden Hawks.
Yeah, that was a good play there by Mackey. Roberts made a nice little 6-yard down and out, but Roberts probably should have gone a little bit farther on that. You always want to know where the first down marker is when you do your down and out, and he came up a couple yards short. So that's something a receiver needs to learn to do. When you're going for a first down, you want to be short.
Jared Bright to punt. Wobbles it.
Jared Bright.
McGill lets it drop. I think he should have picked it up. As it rolls to the 20-yard line.
On the 20-yard line.
BHS would have had the ball to 32-33, but it's West. We decided not to pick it up. But BHS loses about 11 or 12 yards there. 14-10 Golden Hawks, 10:25 to play here in the first half. As the rain has subsided, not completely, but quite a bit. The drillers right to left across your TV dial here in the second quarter. Pat Osborne wide right. Thomas Hallman been quiet the last 2 games. Pitch back to Mackey. Now cuts back. Hit hard after a gain of 3 or 4 yards.
Mackey stopped by Jeff Unfried.
And Centennial stringing out the wide plays very well once again. Unfried with a tackle for the Golden Hawks.
Well, it's a situation, Mark, where Bakersfield is not going to abandon their running game, especially their sweeps and their pitches, because that's kind of a staple of the Bakersfield offense, to run right and left, sweep right, sweep left, off-tackle plays. I mean, they've got to keep the Centennial defense honest. But I think for Bakersfield to be successful, Mark, they're going to have to get a little bit better production on their offensive line, and they're going to have to put the ball in the air a little bit more.
Oh, heavy rush put on James McGill. He slipped and fell down.
McGill was stopped by
It was
Justin
rolling to his
Wilkins.
left. Basically, he stopped himself. He tried to turn back right and slipped and fell.
Mark,
So the
Dustin
Golden Hawks not being fooled at all.
Dustin Williams came in that time, one of the linebackers. And again, the blitz by by the Centennial defense is really putting pressure on McGill. Their offensive line is not picking up the blitz, and Bakersfield seems to be having a very difficult time getting any
Also on
kind
the
of
play
time
brings
to
up
throw.
a 3rd and 17.
Well, obviously, they're blitzing that much. Somebody's got to have one-on-one coverage, and you got to get rid of the ball quickly, throw it up high to Osborne. That's about a 4-inch height advantage. You got to be able to burn the blitz. He throws it to no one. It's picked off. I don't know where McGill is throwing that ball. And Centennial has it. Flags are down in BHS territory to 42. McGill had a man about 20 yards downfield and simply just lost it well over his head. Looked like there was a lot of miscommunication on that pass.
So far, this is not one of McGill's brighter games, I'll tell you. He's really been struggling
Travis
tonight.
Allen, the extra defensive back, with the pickoff there.
You know, after really playing very well the last 4 or 5 weeks, he seems to be really struggling tonight. The pressure's really bothering him, and he's getting rid of that ball before he wants to. That there was a mix-up. Overthrew his receiver. It looked like the receiver was running it down and in, and he threw the ball down the left sideline, way overthrew him. And, of course, the defensive back for Centennial made the interception.
Flipping penalty against Centennial.
So Centennial's going to end up here in good field position, even though they ran it back to the
against
Bakersfield 38-yard line. Penalty on both teams. Clipping against Centennial, personal foul against BHS. We'll see what the officials do here, Mark.
The Golden Hawks will have the ball in their own territory, most likely. 9:54 to play in the first half. 14-10 Golden Hawks. They're going to mark it though at the BHS 43-yard line because BHS had a personal foul. So clipping against the Golden Hawks, a personal foul against BHS. Kind of nullifies. The penalties nullify each other. 1st and 10 for the Golden Hawks at the BHS 42. Pitch back to Morales. BHS coming up. And good hit by Tim Diaz, number 6. Hit him low.
Diaz in on the stop.
Mark, that was the first time Bakersfield High defensively tonight finally came up with a defensive back who came up and made the play there. They've been getting successful on that play, Centennial, and now the defensive backs are seeing the play develop. That time Diaz came up from his corner position and stopped Morales for a short gain. That's what they need to do. They need to get some help from the defensive backs on that sweep and that pitch.
Johnson right corner. This side Alan Mackey. That was the Calvin Holzer lining up left defensive end for BHS, 2nd and 10. Morales tries to run sideways, hit by Graham, spins off.
Jesse Morales, the ball carrier once again.
He gains about 2 yards.
Graham makes the initial contact.
He made the initial contact, and Morales drove past him for another 3 yards.
And Morales looking very good tonight, running hard.
Well, he always runs hard. He's a very consistent runner, and you really have to wrap him up.
5'11", about 170, senior. Basically a 2-year starter. Played a lot last year. He didn't get all the playing time behind Stubbe, but he did play a lot. This year he's been the man for him.
He's been the man. 17 touchdowns for Jesse. Alexander almost picked off by Johnson. The ball intended for Lancaster. Underthrew him.
Pass intended for Lancaster. Broken up by Johnson.
It'll be 4th down for the Golden Hawks.
Incomplete pass brings up a 4th down.
Just underthrew him a little bit, Mark, there, and Johnson was able to tip the ball away the right corner for BHS. And so Bakersfield held there, and I think it was really important for Bakersfield to hold there, Mark. Centennial had the momentum. Bakersfield needs to stay close defensively in this game.
Remember, the game was 4 quarters, though. 4 quarters was 2 halves. Bright to punt.
Jared Bright, the punter,
knocks it away from Mackey. Great punt. And goes out of bounds. I'll mark it at the 20, I think.
Yes,
nice angled pooch punts by Bright. Not quite successful, but look good.
So, Mark, again, we'll see what Bakersfield High can do here with their next offensive series. You know, every time I watch Bakersfield play Centennial, they really struggle offensively. They really seem to have a problem running wide, and their passing game is really non-existent. There's so much pressure on McGill tonight. He just has had no time to throw. The only successful pass was the fake reverse by Osborne, who then threw the ball down to Jennings. But the quarterback has been very unsuccessful tonight throwing the football.
And we'll try it again. Bryce McGill in motion. James.
Mackey keeps the ball.
Runs on the quarterback keeper. To the 25. Cuts inside to about the 29. You know, that worked effectively against Clovis when BHS has struggled for 3 quarters. Bryce, or should I say James, began to run the option and kind of opened things up for the Drillers. Had a pitch back to Tim Diaz for the touchdown.
James McGill picks
That's
up
what
first
James
down
does
for
very
the
well. He's run for a number of touchdowns this year and 500 yards or so on the ground. He's passed for 1,000.
Well, Mark, I think that can be very successful. I think you can take a 3-step drop and then just run the football, because McGill is a fine runner. He's had over 500 yards rushing this year, and I would just run that football. No reason to put the ball in the air if you can make yards on the ground.
And he has a first down, 1st and 10. James hit in the backfield, goes forward for about a yard. Thought about throwing, did a nice spin move, and got across the 32-31.
David Hernandez.
David Hernandez with a tackle for Centennial. The Golden Hawks are not fooled very often. Not too often. A lot of quickness on defense. They string out the plays very well, and they contain very well. 5:30 to play. 14-10 Golden Hawks. BHS 2nd and 8. Hallman wide left. Jennings. Osborne wide right. The second running back is Bryce McGill. Kendrick in the slot right. McGill on the keeper.
Keeps the ball.
Hit hard. Nice tackle for a gain of about 3 or 4 yards.
Mark Gonzalez was there, the outside linebacker for Centennial. He's such a solid little player. 5'9", about 185. 2-year start at outside rover, outside linebacker position. So mobile and really is a hitter for 5'9", 185.
And Jake Adams over there. Those plays work against most of the other teams BHS plays, but Centennial always seems to have somebody there to make the key tackle one-on-one. They don't miss too many tackles. Hallman wide to the left. 3rd and 6 for BHS.
McGill back to pass.
McGill passes. Lost it high for Osborne. He's got it. First down for the Drillers.
Patrick Osborne.
As McGill lost one high and beat to Pat Osborne. Catches the ball, goes out of bounds. 1st and 10 for the Drillers.
Well, Mark Unfried, the left corner that time, number 24, was step for step for Osborne. Osborne, being 6'3", was just able to fight him for the football. And that's really what they need to do. If they're going to throw the football, throw it safe, throw it deep, get the ball down the sideline to Osborne. So if you do make a turnover, it's not going to hurt you. I would avoid some of those slants over the middle. I'd throw the ball down streak patterns where it's more like a punt and let Osborne go up and get it.
McGill, the keeper. He might lose some major yards to the midfield 50. Just unloads it. And Pat catches it once again. Now they call incomplete.
Pass intended for Osborne.
Looked like a good reception by Pat Osborne. They might have said that he was out of bounds. But I have no idea from where our vantage point is what the refs are calling. James McGill was running out wide left for his life. Looked like he was going to lose about 15 yards. Decided to unload it to Pat Osborne, who looked like he caught the ball, but evidently he was out of bounds. Who knows? 5:19 to play. In the first half, 14-10.
Well, Mark, if Pat Osborne's upset, I would have to go that Pat Osborne made the catch because he doesn't drop too many balls. And if he's that upset about a play, my feeling is that he made the catch.
Al Mack out of ball carrier. A gain of 3 or 4 yards to about the 31-yard line. The BHS with a 2nd and 6 situation. Down 14-10 to the Golden Hawks here in the second quarter.
Well, Mark, one thing Bakersfield High needs to do, and we always talk about it, and they don't do it enough of, got to get the ball to Osborne more. You know, they'll throw to him once, and then he'll disappear for a while. Then they'll throw to him again, he'll disappear for a while. He should be involved on about 50 to 60% of all the offensive plays. He's such a great athlete. They need to look for him almost all the time.
Nice line up wide left. Mackey, the single running back behind James McGill. 2-step drop. Lost it high for Pat Osborne. He's got it! Inside the 5-yard line. Yeah, James McGill's basically just throwing the ball up into the air. And, you know, when you're 6'3", Pat Osborne, you have a 3-inch height advantage. Throw it towards his direction. Let him make the play.
Then we talk about this. You know, I just mentioned that about getting the ball to Osborne. Just throw the ball to Osborne. It doesn't matter if he's open or not. He reminds me so much, Mark, of Randy Moss of Minnesota. Tall receivers who go up and get the ball. That's all you have to do.
That's 1st and goal for the Drillers. Jennings wide right. Pitch back, Bryce McGill going to the outside. Tries to cut inside. Into the end zone. Touchdown, BHS.
Bryce McGill.
Oh, yeah, the Drillers come back. 4:13 to play in the second quarter. BHS back on top as they responded to the Golden Hawks.
Well, Mark, I think there were two keys on that drive. One was we finally saw McGill, the quarterback, start to run the football a little bit. You know, which is a very effective play, kind of the 3-step drop, then he looks to run the football. He did that a couple times, made some yards. That loosened up the linebackers a little bit. That's a very effective play. Then after that, he was able then to get the ball to Pat Osborne, which we talked about, and those were the plays of the game.
And Pat Osborne's kick is up, and it is good.
Point after by Patrick Osborne is good.
In fact, we felt that Osborne had 3 receptions in that drive instead of 2. But nevertheless, long pass to the right side. And then, you know, Centennial's guarding him one-on-one. I think that's definitely a mistake. There's no way they're going to guard him one-on-one. And if they do that the rest of the game, they're going to eat it.
Well, Mark, one of the
they got to have double coverage on them.
One of the reasons why they're guarding him one-on-one is they're bringing all the linebackers and the safeties are coming up to stop the run, give them run support, and that leaves Osborne one-on-one. You see, Bakersfield has to take advantage of that. If you're Centennial, why should you change your defense? As long as they don't throw it to Osborne, there's no reason to change.
I talked about the fact that Centennial was blitzing so often that you have to check it off or audibilize and just flip it high and wide for Pat, because he's not necessarily open on those plays, but he's able to weave underneath the ball and outfight or out-jump the defensive back for the catch.
Well, what else it does too, Mark, is that it frees the linebackers. They don't blitz as much. The linemen hesitate. Anytime you can throw the football successfully, it loosens up the defense, and then you can start running the football a little better. That's the key.
Thank you. Okay, BHS will kick it off. Pat Osborne doing honors, 17-14 game, so we've had more points scored here in the first half than we've had in the last 2 games. The final scores being the Golden Hawks 14, BHS 10, earlier this year and last year.
Set to kick
and both
off
teams
for the
answering
Drillers,
each other
Patrick
tonight.
Osborne, Trevor Lancaster, and Jeff Unfried.
Lancaster and Unfried back deep for the Golden Hawks. Unfried was the DB covering Osborne on the last reception. Full house here tonight at Golden Hawks Stadium. Kind of wobbles it out there, hard to pick up. Unfried at the 10, 15. And thrown down across the 20-yard line to the 22. When you're on special teams on a wet field, you have to contain, stay in your lanes,
and Scott Key in on the side.
and not go for any quick moves by the kick returner or the punt returner.
Well, Mark, anytime you have two teams with equal ability, discipline is so important. Lack of turnovers is important, and playing with poise and discipline, because, most of these games go down to the wire, and a team that makes the fewest mistakes normally is going to win. Just the little things like you talk about, stay in your lanes. You have to think all the time out there, especially against a team that's equal to you in ability. You cannot make mistakes.
Really have to key in the fundamentals. Morales, and they come up and knock him down after a gain of 1 or 2 yards. Aaron Graham, the linebacker's coming up quickly for BHS.
Well, Aaron Graham's an outstanding linebacker, 6'2", about 225, and he's probably the best defensive player on the football field tonight for either team. He is just a solid, definitely D1 quarter of linebacker.
And he's going to be a Trojan next year.
Yeah, and he's a hitter, too. I mean, when you get hit by him, he pretty much takes you down. He came up that time, and Morales just got out of the way, but he was able to trip him up.
Centennial flooding the right side with 3 receivers. Unfried in motion. Allentown pitch back to Unfried. And driven out of bounds by Pat Osborne on the far side.
By Osborne.
Pat doing it all for BHS tonight.
Well, Mark, I'm waiting to see the Bakersfield defense step up. So far here in the football game in the first half, they haven't stepped up very well. They're letting Centennial dominate the line of scrimmage. Now it seems like they're getting a little more aggressive defensively. They're starting to come up. The defensive backs are coming up and helping out to get Morales, because he's been getting by a lot of the linemen and linebackers. Now you're seeing Osborne and some of the other defensive backs, Mackey, coming up and giving run support. It's really been more effective here.
When I have the defensive setup where you have Osborne and James McGill in the backfield, both at 6'3" for BHS. 2:46 to play in the first half. Flag is down on the far side. And it's 17-14 BHS. This penalty will be against the Drillers. And it might give the Golden Hawks a first down.
Well,
That's
Mark,
what you call a mental mistake against BHS.
This is one of the problems Bakersfield's had against Centennial earlier this year and last year, is that they continue to make mental mistakes that really can be avoided. That they, you get a touchdown, you've got 3rd and about 4, and what do? You give them a first down. These are just things you cannot do, and they're doing it.
Right about that. 1st and 10 for the Golden Hawks at their own 33-yard line. Morales hit hard by Graham and driven back. With the help of a few of his friends. Aaron Graham, 33, having a great game for the Drillers. Another wake-up call with Jesse Morales. The clock under 2:20 to play in the first half.
Well, Mark, I think in the situation here, Centennial does not want to abandon their running game. It's really their bread and butter. You've got to run Morales, because that sets up the play-action pass for Alexander then, to go to Abernathy, or maybe to go to wideout Justin Roberts or any of their other receivers that they have. So they've got to be able to run the football to be successful offensively.
Bottom at fullback for the Golden Hawks. Justin Roberts in motion. Alexander looking for Lancaster. Lofts it high out there. Mackey turns around. I think it's knocked loose at the last minute.
Pass intended for Trevor Lancaster.
Lancaster had a shot at it. Mackey knocked it away at the last second as he finally turned around.
That Lancaster's just an excellent athlete, Mark. He's got a great pair of hands as a receiver. You got Lancaster and you have Justin Roberts and you have Abernathy, but it's just a fine receiver. Great athlete in baseball, too.
And remember, he just went out for football this year originally as a kicker. 1:45 to play. 3rd and 10 for the Golden Hawks at their own 33. BHS 17, Centennial 14. Roberts, Lancaster, Unfried to the right for the Golden Hawks. Alexander with a count. Looking to his right. Fires it complete to Lancaster. Hit hard by Bryce McGill. He'll be shy of the first down. It'll be 4th down for Centennial, 4th and about 7.
Again, Mark, you're running a down and out short of the first down again. I mean, if you're going to call that play, you want to run it where you're at least going to get a first down again. I don't know if it's a mistake by the quarterback or by the receiver, but you don't run a 5-yard down and out when you need 10 yards for a first down. It just doesn't make any sense. That's the second time in this football game Centennial's done that.
I would have to agree with you. You actually have to run past the marker because you may have to come back for the ball. So the route should be run past the 42-yard line, not to the 35. Because the down and out, you're turning out you have to catch the ball and make a move on the defensive back to gain the other 7 yards. Your momentum is not going in the direction of the first down, not like a slant pattern or a post pattern or a fly.
Plus the fact, Mark, he doesn't throw the ball hard on that down and out. That's a lob. When you throw that down and out, you got to fire that ball. So if the receiver can catch it, he has a chance to make a move and get a first down. The way that ball's thrown, it's lobbed out there. By the time he catches it, the defensive back zeroes in on him and really creams him. So Alexander's been hit twice on that play.
And we know that he was the primary receiver because Alexander looked at him the entire way.
Yeah. That's something he'll learn, Mark. He's a junior quarterback, and he'll learn how to get that play effectively over a period of time. He'll learn how to execute it better.
Mackey back deep for BHS. Bright to punt for the Golden Hawks. Straight up into the air. BHS almost blocked it. Takes the Centennial roll to the 30-yard line. They've had a couple of nice rolls tonight. In fact, 2 rolls of at least 12 yards. And 1st and 10 for BHS at their own 30-yard line. 17-14, 1:14 to play in the first half. And BHS with the ball.
Well, Mark, I think in this game it could go either way so far. We've watched almost the first half, and nobody's really been able to clear-cut dominate the other team, and I don't think we expected that. So we're seeing pretty much what we thought, a good, even game, hard-nosed football.
Bryce McGill, pitch out right. Has some running room. First down and more out of bounds. Maybe he'll be shy of the first down. They knocked him out of bounds. So BHS running wide, getting some yards. Clock stops at 1:06.
Didn't I tell you earlier about that pass play to Osborne in the last offensive series? A couple of pass plays to Osborne, actually. When you throw the football deep, it loosens up the defense. But you have to be successful. And the last offensive series, Bakersfield was successful. It's loosened up the Centennial defense. Now they're able to run the football a little more. That situation there, Centennial's defense was much looser and able to run the ball.
At 2nd and 1, pitch back. Bryce McGill going left. Cuts inside, has the first down, hit hard, and goes forward to about the 44-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10 for BHS.
Well, Mark, Bakersfield High is in a little bit of a quandary here. You got 59 seconds. Clock's going to be running here. You're still in your own side of the 50-yard line, in your own territory. You wonder if you're going to throw or just run the clock out.
We're going to throw the football. James will go back to throw. Comes the pressure. Throws it long and deep. It's caught. First down for BHS at the Centennial 22-yard line.
Pass complete to Royce Jennings.
Jennings with a catch, number 20. McGill basically lofted it downfield, but Centennial was not on him. And
Mark,
now you talk about loosening up that Centennial defense.
Mark, that was Rusty Coons there. He slipped on defense. Again, though, Jennings made a second big catch tonight. And Bakersfield's been able to get the ball deep tonight on Centennial, especially the last 2 offensive series, and it's really helped them. And I think the field has a little bit to do with it. You know, the Centennial defensive backs being very ginger out there as far as not making a quick move where they might fall down. There's definitely an advantage, Mark, to the receiver on both teams in this football game. But with 45 seconds left, Bakersfield's in a tough situation here. Looks like they're outside the 20-yard line, about the 23-yard line, and you've got a 1st and 10, but only 45 seconds. Do you run the football and position yourself for a field goal, or do you try to go for it all here?
I say go for it all. Let's go for it.
Especially when 20-14 really probably wouldn't help you a lot. That doesn't even put you 1 touchdown ahead. So I think from a momentum standpoint, a touchdown would be much more valuable. But I think a lot of it would depend on how successful they are in first down. Right. If they can get the ball down the field and pick up some yards here, they might go for a touchdown. If not, they'll probably just try to run the ball and go for a field goal.
Thomas Holman wide left for BHS. Osborne wide right. James McGill quarterback. Centennial showing blitz. McGill lofts it to the right side, incomplete for Bryce McGill. I thought he was looking for Pat Osborne, who was coming over the middle. Not a bad pass, though, because it was toward the right sidelines. 40 seconds to play in the first half. Holding against BHS.
Well, Mark, they were blitzing that time, Centennial, and he could see it, and the offensive lineman held. Really was the whole defensive line and the linebacker. Centennial was really coming in on that play, and they held, so that kept the pressure off McGill. But again, they're out of field goal range now, so he's going to have to complete something, at least 10 or 15 yards, to give Osborne a chance to even put 3 on the board here.
Well, I believe, Dennis, this is the biggest attendance in Centennial history. All the stands are filled, and you have the end zone stands that are filled up. People are standing along the sides. Very exciting atmosphere from Golden Hawk Stadium. James McGill now rolling to his right. Here's the pressure, unloads it. Does Jennings have it? They say he's out of bounds.
Pass is incomplete.
The pass was caught by Jennings, number 20, but he was out of bounds as James McGill was running for his life. Incompletion. 32 seconds on the clock in the first half. 17-14 in favor of BHS. Those are not bad passes by McGill, though. He's throwing it downfield, and it can't really hurt you if they're picked off.
Well, you know, they're in a situation, Mark, where it's passing on every down here. Of course, second and 23, they have a long ways to go even for a first down, but, you know, they've got to put the ball up in the air and then call a timeout if there's a possibility to go for a field goal.
McGill
Here comes the rush.
once again.
The swing to Bryce McGill. Hitting the back, stays on his feet, 35 and to about the 31. Only gain of 3 or 4 yards. Stewart was there. Bryce was able to get by him, but not for too much of a gain. 18 seconds on the clock. See what BHS does here at 3rd and 23.
Well, that wasn't set up too well, Mark. That screen was set up. McGill threw the ball, and defensive down lineman was already right there on the play. If McGill saw him right there, probably would have been rough just to run the football in that play instead of throwing the ball over to his running back. Yeah, Bryce McGill.
At 3rd and 17 for BHS.
I mean, you're gonna throw a screen pass. It's okay to throw, but if you throw a screen pass and you got 2 defensive linemen bearing down on your receiver, why even throw it? That's what he did that time, and it was a poor choice by the quarterback. McGill, he should have either ran the ball or threw the ball away or looked for somebody else downfield.
Okay, the Drillers with a 3rd and 17 situation. Jennings wide left. Pat Osborne wide to the right. Kindred at a backfield behind James McGill. McGill sprint out right. Looks for Osborne over the middle. He's got it! Touchdown, Drillers!
McGill's pass complete to Patrick Osborne.
As BHS split the defense, just a post pattern run by Pat Osborne. He was open. Perfect pass by James McGill. Where was the Centennial D?
Well, Mark Unfried got beat again, but Pat Osborne's getting behind the defensive backs. But again, he's so tall. He's got great hands. It's very difficult to cover him one-on-one. Like I told you, he reminds me of a young Randy Moss. He's just got great hands, great speed, and he goes and gets the ball.
I think it was a great pass by James McGill, but I don't think Centennial's defense was very good in that play. They had 2 guys in the area, but neither of them put up a hand. You got to do a better job than that. PAT is up and it's good. That's if you want to get to the Valley Finals.
Again, one thing that's really helped Bakersfield, Mark, in the last 2 offensive series is what? Pass rush. The offensive line's done a much better job. McGill's had more time to throw, and like I said earlier, the last offensive series they had, when they were able to get the ball down to Osborne for his 2 big catches on the previous drive, that loosened up the defense. And what it did was it hesitated the linebackers from blitzing on every play. This last offensive series by Bakersfield, we saw very little blitzing by the Centennial defense. Again, McGill's had more time to throw, able to see Osborne deep that he wasn't seeing earlier in the game.
Well, they've been going to Osborne probably more tonight than they have in any game this year in the first half.
Why not?
Well, I agree with it. You know, they had a zone defense back there, but they just weren't quick to react defensively. Centennial.
Well, Mark, they've
been playing him one-on-one the rest of the game. He's been lofting the ball, but that time they were back there, but really didn't react to the play.
Well, Mark, they had single coverage, but the free safety was there, but he didn't get over. You've got to get over. You know, he was hesitating, and he beat the cornerback, but the free safety did not get over, and therefore he was able to beat both of them deeper in the score. Anytime you pull the ball over the middle, the free safety's got to help out. He's a center fielder. He just didn't get back.
Jeff Humphrey and Trevor Lancaster
are back in the area
for the Golden Hawks.
Kickoff by Pat Osborne, 24-14 BHS. But Trevor Lancaster, 15. Now running right to left, looking for some room.
Lancaster, the
30-yard line, hit hard and down. Oh, might be a fumble. It is a fumble. That was a little hello hit on Lancaster.
By Kenneth Qualls.
Kenneth Qualls, who doesn't see a lot of playing time for BHS, got in a good hit there, number 1. 3 seconds to play here in the first half, 24-14 BHS. And, you know, as we talked about in the first half, this is a 4-quarter game, and 2 halves, and won't be decided until then. But BHS has to feel pretty good right now as to where they stand with a 10-point lead. I think they've taken the game a little bit away from Centennial from the mental aspect. The Golden Hawks winning the last 2 games, and BHS has seen a weakness and the Centennial defense, something they hadn't seen the last 2 years.
Well, Mark, one of the weaknesses is you get the ball to Pat Osborne. He makes everybody look weak. But one of the things about that last offensive series, we talked about Centennial defensive backs. They know Bakersfield is going to throw, so there's no excuse for that free safety not to be back on defense that time. You knew they were going to be throwing the football. But again, you can also say that Pat Osborne's a great athlete, which he is, and you have to utilize him because he can get open all the time. Of course, he had the bad finger earlier, Mark, and he wasn't able to play as much.
He wasn't playing a receiver for about 4 games. You know, out of his 15 receptions, he had 5 of them for touchdowns. So he's a big play receiver, big play player for BHS, but they are going to him more than they have throughout most of the year. And I did their game last week, and they went to him a little bit, but for some reason they're seeing something in the Centennial defense that they like, and the Golden Hawks, despite the fact they've been rushing the quarterback good, are not picking it up. It's going to make for very long even for them, unless they do a better job on Pat Osborne. 3 receivers wide to the right for the Golden Hawks. Alexander for the long count. There's a draw play, and Morales hit the backfield and dropped. That will be the final play of the first half, as BHS leads it 24-14 over the Golden Hawks. And the Drillers definitely a very confident team as they go into the locker room at halftime, as they want to make amends for the last 2 losses to Centennial. The Yosemite Division large school semifinal, BHS up by 10 on CNNSI, Time Warner Cable, Channel 52.
Over the last 60 years, our law firm has helped thousands of accident victims win millions of dollars. But our work goes beyond the money. It's really about people. 15 years ago, I represented the mother of a 4-week-old baby who was permanently brain damaged when her infant seat failed in an automobile accident. I testified before the legislature and fought for laws to protect children. Today, children are safer because of those laws.
When you need us, we'll be there.
Have you videotaped a special event that just has to be shared with your friends and relatives? Then Time Warner Productions is the only place you'll need to go for quality on-time duplication. We'll take your videotape and transfer it to whatever format you want and make enough copies for everyone on your list. We'll even convert your foreign videotapes to meet American standards, as well as convert your videos to send overseas. Just stop by Time Warner Productions in the Time Warner Cable office on Select Avenue and tell us, I need a dub. It's fast, easy, and the only way to go to get multiple copies of your videos.
Holiday Ford Lincoln Mercury is clearing out the 98s. Now we have $1,000 cash back, plus 0.9% financing on Escorts, Contours, Mystiques, Tracers, and Rangers. Now that's real savings. How about a red carpet lease on a new 98 Explorer? Come in and buy one, and the first payment up to $500 is on us. Don't make a wrong turn. Make the turn for Lerdo Highway in Shafter. We're easy to get to from both the 5 and 99 freeways. Say habla español.
Come to Holiday!
Have the score at halftime from Golden Hawk Stadium on the campus of Centennial High School. Bakersfield High School 24 and Centennial 14. The Golden Hawks had a 14-10 lead at one point tonight. That magical score. That was their winning margin earlier this year and last year when they played BHS. But the Drillers trying to make amends in a much bigger game. As we are in the Yosemite Division Large School semifinals, the winner of this game plays for the Valley Championship.
Well, Mark, I thought the first half was really very exciting, maybe a little bit more scoring than I thought we had in the previous 2 games. As you noted earlier in the season, Centennial won 14-10. Bakersfield made some key turnovers in that game. And of course, last year they played, and Centennial won that game 14-10. The last two games were defensive oriented. This game here in the first half has been a little bit more offensive oriented. I think you're seeing some more big plays. Both teams have put the ball in the air, and they've been very successful. I think Alexander's been successful with his mobility, and especially in the first quarter, and that bothered the Bakersfield defense. I thought in the second quarter they adjusted a little better. With Bakersfield High, their offense was very effective, Mark, especially in the second quarter with the Osborne to McGill connection. And he made some big plays, both of them did. And I think that really opened up the offense for Bakersfield in the second quarter. So I think in the second half, whoever can make the adjustments at halftime and can eliminate turnovers and mistakes, that team will be the victor.
Well, Dennis, you talk about Pat Osborne. He has a 32-yard field goal tonight. He has passed for a touchdown, had a touchdown reception, also had another reception which set up a score for the Drillers this evening. Lancaster's caught a 65-yard touchdown pass for Centennial. Also, Alexander hit Morales, Justin Morales, in the end zone for a score for the Golden Hawks. It's been a hard-fought football game, but BHS owned the second quarter. They came from 14-10 down to lead 24-14. But games like this are 2 halves and 4 quarters, and we will see what happens in the second half from Golden Hawk Stadium.
Well, Mark, the time of possession for Centennial in the first quarter was over double what they had in the second quarter. So second quarter, Bakersfield had the football, and of course, whoever has the football, usually the majority of the game will win the game. But not always, but that usually is the case. But I just thought that Bakersfield was able to get the ball to Pat Osborne, especially in the second quarter. The offensive line for BHS did a much better job in the second quarter, picking up the blitz of Centennial. And then when they were able to get the ball deep to Osborne, they didn't blitz as much. And also, I think Bakersfield was able to stay out of 3rd and long in the second quarter. First quarter, they had 3rd and long, and that really hurt them.
Definitely a key for them. BHS seemed to come alive emotionally in the last part of that second quarter. Let's see if they can continue that in the second half, or Centennial can get it right back.
Well, Mark, we know Bakersfield really, the key to their team is their defense. They're ahead at halftime 24-14. They can't win the football game being ahead 24-14. What can you say? The strength of their team is the defense. The defense has a lead. So now it's up to the defense, like they have all year. It's up to their defense to come through now and dominate the second half. That's really been the bread and butter for them.
Well, last week they led 12-7 at the half, and they beat Golden West 40-7. Golden West not a strong running team, but a passing team. But BHS dominated them across the line. Kickoff comes to Johnson to the 20-yard line, hit hard and goes down. Not into the 20, to about the 17. He was sandwiched that time. Centennial comes up pumped out in the second half. 1st and 10 for the Drillers, moving right to left across your TV dial. Centennial in the other direction. And we should see a wild and woolly final half here tonight.
Ball carrier on the return.
Before a rain-soaked crowd. Pat Osborne, line up to the left. Pitch back, Bryce McGill. They string him out, has a cut back. Sneaks his way for some good yardage, close to the first down. Bryce across the 25-yard line.
Well, Mark, one thing Bryce McGill gives Bakersfield High from the tailback position, not only does he give him some speed, he gives him some power. I mean, at 185 at about 6-foot senior, didn't play a lot of running back last year, even earlier this year, but he's giving him a lot of power, and he's breaking a lot of tackles tonight. So that's one thing they didn't get with Diaz earlier. They're getting with him.
I think the first game he played at running back was against Centennial, or the following week. Alan Mackey began to play more against Golden West. That was the game after Centennial, 21-0. Bryce McGill pitch back left.
Once again.
Has a first down and more. Is across the 30 to about the 32.
He goes out by David Hernandez.
Last week, Bryce had an interception return for a touchdown. He had a run for a touchdown. He blocked the field goal. And he made some nice plays from his defensive backfield slot. Very good athlete. Talked to him after the game, number 5. 24-14 BHS. 1st and 10 for the Drillers. Are packing it in. Allman in motion. Bryce McGill going right.
Bryce McGill
tries to go to the outside. Slips a tackle. Now he reverses field. Gets a great block by James McGill. Has 5 more. First down. Stays on his feet. Finally out of bounds. Bryce McGill ran a long ways. Not for a lot of yards, but he'll take it. 14-yard pickup.
Mark, on that pitch to the right. He reversed his field when there was no room to his right side, came all the way across the field and picked up the first down. Great block by Pat Osborne there. Came back from his receiver position, laid a nice block on the defensive lineman to really spring McGill down the left sideline. So McGill showing great speed and good blocking by the BHS offensive line and Pat Osborne.
So a couple of first down runs by Bryce McGill. Mackey in there. Jennings in motion. Long count pitch back. Alan Mackey, number 2. Look at the blocking by BHS. He's got 5. He's got 10. More one man to beat. Knocked out of bounds at the 30. The Driller offensive line coming alive here in the third quarter. And are blowing Centennial off the ball.
Well, Mark Unfried, left corner, made the tackle. He'd have had another touchdown there. But again, Bakersfield's been getting some success on that pitch or sweep right and left. They made some adjustments at halftime because, in the first half that wasn't working. So they've made some adjustments, and they've really turned that loose here in the third quarter.
Well, look at the blocking on the last couple of plays. They were just manhandling Centennial on that last run. Nobody even touched him until he was 13 yards downfield. That's not something we saw in the first half. They did it primarily with big passing plays in the first half. Now they're going to the ground, physical football, which is what they like to do. And they're going to try to pound it to Centennial. 10:32 to play in the third quarter.
Well, so far, and we saw a change, Mark, midway in the second quarter. Bakersfield getting a little bit more physical, which they didn't do early in the game. They might have been a little tentative. It was a big game, maybe a little nervous in the first quarter. But after that first part of the football game, I thought early in the second quarter they started getting the ball to Osborne. The offensive line started to come together and do a little bit of job blocking for McGill, the quarterback. And like you said, they got a little more physical, and the defense came alive too. So I don't know. It just seems like they just got more aggressive. I don't think there's anything one key. I think the team just came around, woke up.
Anton Chica, Justin Smith, Raul Palomino, Robert Bergman for the Drillers, part of their offensive line. Last week they played very poorly from midway through the second quarter until the end of the half. They played extremely well in the second half. James McGill rolling out left, has some pretty good blocking, 30-yard line, hit and dropped. Centennial strung it out very well. And we have a flag downfield, 10, 15 yards downfield. It might be against the Drillers, a personal foul. Really had nothing to do with the play. 10:23 left in the third quarter. The Drillers up by 10, and they have a personal foul, which is
against Bakersfield.
Not what you would call a smart play when you have Centennial on the ropes and you're getting yards on them. Got to be 15 yards against BHS. Somewhat cut short their momentum somewhat. A really personal foul had nothing to do with the play. Downfield. That's just basically a mental mistake. Drillers up by 10. At the Centennial 42-yard line. James McGill talked things over with Tim Hartnett and the BHS coaching staff. Kevin Sneed on the sidelines for Centennial.
Well, Mark here, 2nd 21. That penalty there by Kindred, the fullback, put him in bad field position, and so it's a situation where now it's second and long, 2nd 21. But they're in a situation here where they can run the football or pass it. They've been moving the football well, and I think they feel pretty confident. You know, it's a situation where you can either go deep, go short, or run the football. They have some options here, BHS.
I neglected to mention Robert Lomas, number 77, one of the offensive tackles for BHS.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have two pickups
about their offensive line
that we need to be moved immediately.
Second and long for BHS. Osborne to this side. Allman wide right.
168.
Kendrick slot left.
And a white Chevy.
Mackey, the single running back behind. The quarterback, James McGill.
1, 2,
McGill's
3.
pass incomplete. Threw it too high to Hallman. That'd be okay if he was Pat Osborne. Yeah, he had to climb the ladder for that one.
Ball is incomplete.
Well, Mark, that personal foul really put them in bad situation there. They were moving, and that took the momentum away from them a little bit. And that's one thing Bakersfield's had against them. They've had a lot of mistakes in the past couple games, and you know, that's why I'm saying it's a situation where even though they have a lead, it's not safe. And you know, you just can't afford to make mistakes and give Centennial get back in the football game, which they've done the last couple of years.
I think personal fouls always kill you, especially when you have momentum on your side. Totally unnecessary. Allman wide to the right. Kendrick slot left. Mackey in motion. It's 3rd and long. And now we have another delay of the game. against BHS once again. Now a motion penalty against the Drillers. So they've had a personal foul, now the motion.
Marked off against the Drillers.
And obviously, after that PF, they've lost their concentration.
That happens with high school football kids, though, Mark. They're only in high school, and they do have sometimes problems concentrating over a long period of time. The team who can keep their poise and discipline and focus will usually be the winner.
Well, discipline is a key. Mackey in motion. James McGill, two-step drop. He'll run it, midfield 50, fakes the throw to the 40-yard line, 35-30, down the sideline, he'll go the distance. I don't believe it, touchdown BHS. Centennial was fooled. McGill faked the pass after looking that he was going to run it. He faked the pass. He got two Centennial players off their feet. He literally ran by them, cut to the outside, got some great blocking, and went all the way.
Mark, that was a 42-yard quarterback keeper. And again, that play, as we talked about earlier, that play's been effective in the first quarter. Remember, he ran that play twice. It's kind of like a quarterback draw where he takes a three-step, then he decides to run the ball. That was a run all the way. This time, he made a couple great cutbacks, broke a tackle, and just went down the left sideline. Some great blocking by the BHS lineman, especially Robert Bergman, the offensive tackle, who really sprung him on that.
Right block on the left side. PAT attempt is good by Pat Osborne.
Osborne is good.
But, Mark, that's really a killer. You got him 3rd and long, and you let a quarterback make a 42-yard.
Well, Dennis, he made a lot of long runs the whole year. You know, I talked about it. I've seen him play, and last week he had over 100 yards rushing, a couple of touchdowns, and most of his runs come on plays like that, not on the option, but he goes back to pass. You're not sure if he's going to pass or run it. He keeps the ball up in his hand. He fakes the path. The defense freezes. He blows by him. He can break tackles, and he can outrun people. He's 210 pounds. 160-pound defensive backs not necessarily going to bring him down in the open field. Centennial knows about that tonight.
Yeah, and it was a good play. I mean, it was a play that they probably weren't expecting. They were expecting to pass, and it was a run all the way. But, again, Centennial had a chance to bring him down after about a 4 or 5 yard gain. He did make a good move, break a tackle. Then he got a great block by Bergman, another great block by Osborne. And he was able to spring himself down the left sideline for the score. So it was not a play necessarily, Mark, designed to go for a score. It was a situation where they were hoping he could make enough of the game, maybe get in field goal position. Instead, he was able to spring it all the way for a score on a 42-yard run. So that's really a key. Bakersfield really doing it with big plays tonight.
Well, this is how BHS does it a lot. They make a lot of touchdowns and long runs on plays, but they're not expected to go that far. A lot of it's just athletic ability.
But not normally against Centennial do you do that.
I figured he'd go maybe 5 or 7 yards. I mean, it didn't look like there was much there, but he really fooled some of the guys that were coming up on him. They thought he was going to pass. He had the ball up. A couple of guys jumped off their feet, and he blew by them, and I thought maybe he's going to get 5 or 10 yards and broke a tackle, had some block, and all of a sudden he goes all the way. Those plays should not go that far. They're not designed to go that far, but these guys make it happen. This is how they scored a lot last week in the second half. I mean, that final score is somewhat deceiving, 40-7. They scored on plays that should have gained 10 yards, and they went 40 or 45. 9:58 to play in a third. 31-14 BHS. Justin Roberts in motion. Johnson guarding him. Sean Alexander to Morales. Gains about 2 yards. Straight up the middle.
Well, Mark, I think if you're Centennial right now, you're going to have to abandon that run up the middle with Morales. That's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to be effective. And with the time not on your side right now, being behind 31-14, I think Alexander's going to have to look to put the ball in the air the majority of time the rest of this football game. But the running plays aren't going to be effective. They don't have the speed to break them deep on the BHS defense. The Bakersfield defense, since the middle of the second quarter, has played much better on the defensive line than the linebackers, and especially Graham in there. So they're going to put the ball in the air, really.
McGill and Osborne are back deep for BHS. At 2nd and 8 for Centennial. Roberts in motion. Bryce McGill guarding him. Alexander, he will run it, has 5 yards, and hit hard at the 29-yard line. Graham, yeah, when he hits you hard. Just kind of containment by the BHS defense.
Well, Mark, one thing you would expect BHS to be able to do here is not lose their poise. They have a tendency to do some talking and have some penalties. Right now, it's important to keep discipline and keep focus. This game is not over with. And it's because, penalties here really would help Centennial. So keep your poise, keep your discipline.
Mackey and Johnson the corners. Posey, McDermott, DEs for BHS. 3rd and short for the Golden Hawks. Long count. Morales should have the first down.
Morales picks up a first down for the
Winters,
Golden Hawks.
Stansberry, the interior defensive lineman for BHS. 8:29 to play in the third quarter. Centennial has 14, BHS 31. And the Drillers have scored the last 3 touchdowns tonight. They were down 14-10. So they have dominated since early in the second quarter. And the Golden Hawks are not used to this. They've allowed 31 points in their home field, and we're only early in the third quarter. They're not a team that really scores a lot. 17-7 last week. Receivers split to each side. Split backs. Roberts in motion. Alexander rolling to the left.
Offensive lineman to the quarterback. I mean, you just get a great push, and really when you're ahead 31-14, it seems to give you a little bit more energy right now. And Bakersfield is playing with a lot more momentum and confidence right now. A little bit more of a reckless abandon. They know that Centennial has to put the ball in the air, so they're really putting a lot more pressure on them.
Jeff Dunlap, the middle linebacker for BHS. Osborne and McGill dropping deep back. The pass incomplete to Unfried. Might have thrown it behind him. Tipped up in the air. McGill was close to having a pick for BHS.
Well, Mark, also they're getting a great push from Stansberry in there, defensive lineman, and also McDermott's done a great job. And they're putting good pressure on Alexander, the quarterback.
Ryman Stansberry, number 61, 6'5", 295, playing right there in the middle for the Drillers. Hosey McDermott, as I mentioned, the DEs. And 66, Paul Halley for the Drillers. They move some people in and out. Graham out of there on a couple of plays for passing plays for BHS. They drop everybody off the line. Alexander to throw. A pass incomplete. McDermott was right in his face. And that pass wouldn't go anywhere anyway. It's trying to set up a screen. And they might have gained about 2 or 3 yards, but it wasn't going for the first down for the Golden Hawks.
Yeah, the quarterback didn't set that up too well. Mark, he had 3 receivers to his right. He sprinted out to the right, thinking he was going to throw the ball to the right. Then he turns around quickly, tries to set up a screen to the opposite side of the field. And a BHS defender was there, so it didn't really work. McDermott stayed at home and didn't get suckered by his sprint out to the right. He stayed at home and was able to break up the play.
For the Golden Hawks.
7:19 to play in the third quarter. Bright, beautiful punt. We've seen some great punts tonight. Look at that ball drive. Oh, look at a roll to the 10 and down to the 4-3-yard line.
Bright's punt rolls dead inside the 5-yard line.
Well, Mark, that ball
by Jared Bright.
Yeah, that ball should have definitely been caught. I don't agree with letting that ball fall.
That's about a 65-yard punt by Bright. Rolled about 17 yards. BHS has allowed a lot of his punts to roll.
Yeah,
the other two rolled about 12 yards. This one about 17 yards.
Yeah, Alan Mackey let that roll, and I'm not sure why. That ball should have been grabbed. I mean, if it's inside the 10, that would have went to the end zone. But that ball was at the 22-yard line when they let it roll. There's no way that's going to go into the end zone.
On fundamental football centers, you catch the ball unless it hits inside the 10. Pitch back, Bryce McGill. He's hit hard at the line of scrimmage, driven back.
One thing you don't want to do here, Mark, is have a turnover, but I don't think it's a guy to be pitching the ball. I think that ball should be handed off. But they run that pitch, and that's kind of a dangerous place, especially deep in your own territory. But again, it's a situation for Bakersfield. If they can get a first down and get some better field position, for Centennial, you want to stop him here and get the ball back. So defensively, you want to be very aggressive and put Bakersfield in a situation where they don't make a first down.
Robert Stewart with a tackle for the Golden Hawks. 5:34 to play in the third. 31-14 BHS. They're in a hole in the shadows of their end zone. Hobbit in motion, pitch back. Bryce McGill left side. To the 5, drives to about the 7-yard line. Good D by Centennial. As they string it out.
Stopped by Kyle Bynum.
Bynum, number 33.
Gains 4 on the play.
So that gives them a little breathing room as they're at their own 7-yard line.
Well, Mark, I think it's a situation here, and I could be wrong, but I think Vegas is going to try to run the football here. I don't think you'll see them throw the ball deep in their own territory, and if they can run the ball here, even if they don't get a first down, they'll probably punt it. But I think I don't look for a pass in this situation.
Jennings wide right. He's in motion. James McGill looking over the defense. Quarterback keeper. Flag is down. McGill to the 10 or 11 yard line. Could it be a motion penalty against BHS? Something about that play didn't look right. Yeah, motion penalty. Two guys might have been going at the same time.
Well, Mark, I think Centennial is going to decline it and get the ball back because Bakersfield did make a first down. No reason to run the play over if you're Centennial. You get the ball back. That's what you need.
And Trevor Lancaster will be deep for Centennial, standing near midfield. Pat Osborne will be punting it away for the BHS Drillers.
Motion penalty declined by the Drillers. Patrick Osborne.
Well, Golden Hawks looking to have very good field position after this punt. Osborne standing about 3 yards deep in his end zone. Nice snaps tonight for BHS. Another beautiful punt, in over in, spiral from the 43. Lancaster hit and goes down to the 49-yard line. So not much of a return for Centennial. Great coverage by BHS. Qualls with a second tackle tonight on special teams.
Mark, Bakersfield's special teams have really come up big tonight, especially Osborne. His kickoffs, his field goal, and now his punting has been great tonight. That punt was over 45 yards again. He had a great punt. So he was really doing the job tonight all around for BHS.
Maybe the Florida football team might want to use him as a punter.
Well, the Gators, they got to be a little bit hungry after last week Florida State beating them.
You know they're hungry. Two receivers wide to the left. Roberts and Lancaster for Centennial. Pitch back Justin Morales. BHS strings it out. He tries a cut, and I think he's going to lose some yardage. Yes, he is. Try to cut back, slipped a little bit, and BHS just swarmed over him. A driller T. Got to lose about 3 yards.
Again, Mark, I'm really surprised at the play calling there. Those kind of pitch outs aren't going to be very effective when you're behind 31-14. They haven't shown that they can get wide on BHS with the speed of Bakersfield. Morales is a fine runner, but those kind of plays take up a lot of time on the clock. Bakersfield would love them to be running those sweeps all the rest of the game. Hey, they'll take it.
They lose about 4 yards. 2nd and 14, 4:27 on the clock. It's amazing how 3 receivers out and they run the football. Alexander rolling to his right. Here comes the pressure. He lofts it out to Lancaster. Great coverage by McGill. Knocks it away. But we have a flag down at the BHS defensive backfield. Good coverage by Bryce McGill, number 5, on Lancaster. He was with him step for step. The flag was thrown in the middle of the field.
Holding penalty.
Defensive holding against the Drillers. I'm not sure who they were holding. 4:15 on the clock in the third. 31-14 BHS. Centennial with the football.
Mark, is a 10-yard penalty in high school, so it's still 2nd down and short. So it did move the ball up for Centennial in a better position to get a first down.
2nd and a long 4 for the Golden Hawks. Roberts wide right. Slot is Bynum. Ball to the left hash mark. Sean Alexander looking right. Flips it to Morales in a backfield. Hit hard and goes down by Hosey. Now that was a lateral. He threw that ball back. So he had to catch that ball. And Calvin Hosey, number 45,
by Hosey,
knocked him down his tracks. And a big loss for the Golden Hawks. And not what I would call much of a play, actually.
Well, it was a situation, Mark, where they want to get the ball apparently to Morales as much as they can, but it was a situation where, he's not going upfield on those kind of plays. So, there's no momentum going forward. It's just a lateral pass, which has not been very effective going right or left, those laterals or those pitch outs. You need to go ball down the field more.
The D had him covered all the way. Lateral passes are very dangerous when you're down 31-14. The pass complete to the tight end. This is one tackle, stays on his feet. Abernathy close to the first down marker. Good run by Abernathy for Centennial on a short pass. Broke a couple of tackles. And a ball popped loose. See where they down at 3:18 to play in the third. Does it appear to you to say to me that Centennial's taken a lot of time on their offense? They're down 31-14. and the clock is winding down. They don't seem to be in much of a hurry.
Well, Mark, you have to understand, too, is they took a quarterback who didn't play much and put him in midway in the season this year. He's just not an experience at this level right now to be in a situation where he can work faster. He's a young quarterback, and it's going to take him some time. Next year, you'll see this kind of offense will be much more crisp at it. Velos was here and played for a year and a half, so it makes a big difference. This drive started at the BHS 49, went back to the Centennial 40, and now they're still at the 41. They've used about 3 minutes on the clock. They get the first down here.
Alexander.
But they're definitely taking a lot of time in this ball game. They're all 2 touchdowns behind. And the clock is winding down. So I think they need to pick it up a little bit offensively and get it rolling. It's fine to get a couple of first downs, but you got to get it moving because BHS will get the ball back. 1st and 10 for Centennial at the BHS 39. They've only gained 10 yards in this series, and the clock's been running. You would think that they were trying to eat up the clock. Roberts among 3 receivers wide to the right for Sean Alexander. 2-step drop, looking left, fires it out. There it is. Knocked away, incomplete. Johnson, a good defense.
Lancaster.
Intended for Lancaster. Osborne coming up late for BHS.
Up by Nick Johnson.
One thing about Alexander, he looks at his receiver all the way. I mean, as soon as the receiver goes 5 yards downfield, he's staring at him. And the defense has to pick that up. We saw it earlier in the game against Lancaster. He looks at one guy when he runs 10, 15, 20 yards downfield. You got to fool the defense a little bit more than that. You know who the ball's going through. Despite the fact you have 3 receivers going out, I think you need to check them off every once in a while. But with so many guys going out, there's not a lot of blocking for him. 2nd and 10 for the Golden Hawks. Here comes the rush. Pass knocked up in the air. That's picked off by Graham to the 40-yard line. Midfield 50 has a blocking and out of bounds. Well, and there's a mistake. BHS ball in Centennial territory.
Well, Mark, that ball was tipped again. It's a situation where he had a man open there, but when the ball was tipped by the defensive lineman of BHS, and Graham was able to be in the right spot and make the interception. But that happened earlier when Centennial scored their touchdown. The ball was tipped in the air. So those things happen. It's very difficult right now because when Centennial is on offense, Mark, they're having 4 receivers go out. Now's a good time for BHS to put pressure on Alexander.
Well, that's what I talked about.
This guy's blocking, so he's had to hurry his passes that time. In that situation, Bakersfield had a lot of men in the secondary and made the big play.
1st and 10 for BHS, so the Centennial 39-yard line, 2:18 to play in the 3rd quarter. Aaron Graham with a pick that time. Shows some hands and some running ability. And BHS has the Golden Hawks right where they want them. I knew this game would be higher scoring than the other games. Not this high scoring. BHS wants more.
Well, one thing, Pat Osborne just went out of the game. He was limping a little bit. I don't know if it was a cramp or an ankle, so that could hurt him.
He'll be back. He'll just be out for a couple of plays. Holman wide right. Caper by McGill. They can't bring him down as he gets inside the 30 to the 29. The Golden Hawks grabbing his jersey, and he's dragging him about 8 yards. That's what happens when you're 6'3", 210 pounds. He makes long runs on plays like that, which look like they're going nowhere, just kind of ad-lib.
Well, Mark, that play, like I said, they didn't run that play in the 1st quarter, but they started running that play in the 2nd quarter, and it's been very effective. And I don't know why the BHS does not use that in their repertoire all the time. 2 plays, I think, tonight have been effective. McGill running the football from the quarterback position and getting the ball to Pat Osborne. Those are 2 things they have to do, and if they can do that, then they can open it up for Mackey and McGill to run the football.
I think their offensive line is wearing on Centennial's smaller defensive line, too. Pitch back. Kindred to the 20-yard line, close to the 1st down, and we talked about the first carry of the night for Kindred. Big hole for BHS.
I get a kick out of you saying a small Centennial line. They're not really small anywhere, although they're not going to be as big as BHS. They're not a little line, but I think Bakersfield, Mark, I think Centennial in this situation is just kind of down in the dumps right now. I mean, morale-wise, I think not scoring on that last drive, the interception really took a lot out of them. So I think the job for BHS offense is a little bit easier right now.
Well, they got a couple of defensive linemen down. If they're 225 pounds, I wouldn't consider that big. Most of the BHS guys are anywhere from 240 to 270. 2 of their interior linemen are 225 pounds at 5'11". And it's kind of hard to contend with somebody who's 6'4", 270. I would consider that a smaller defensive line.
Well, when I was 225, I could contend with any of them.
Well, I don't think Centennial has a real big defensive line. their offensive line is big, but if you look at the players in their down line, they don't have the size of BHS, and I think they've been pushed around here in the second half. It's quite obvious by the way BHS is running the football. 1:05 to play in the third quarter, 31-14. Osborne wide to the right. Jennings wide left. Kindred slips a tackle. Stewart. They make the tackle, Centennial, but BHS are driving him 3 and 4 yards downfield, and BHS getting the great offensive push against the Centennial down lineman.
Yeah, they're using Kindred a little bit more in this offensive series, which they haven't before. He's been mostly a blocking back.
John Kindred running the football for BHS as they continue to push the ball upfield and use the clock.
As long as he doesn't make any more of those mistakes like he did on the last offensive series when he had a person foul down the field. You've got to be disciplined out there no matter who you are.
You probably want to get his name mentioned. I formation for BHS. Bryce McGill right side. Big hole to the 5. Touchdown, BHS!
In for a touchdown.
The Drillers are dominating the Centennial defensive line, just eating up yards.
Well,
another
Mark,
touchdown up the middle.
Excuse me, after 2 years of getting beat 14-10, actually 2 times of getting beat 14-10, earlier this year and last year, Bakersfield came out tonight with a purpose. And I thought after the first quarter, when they started getting the ball to Osborne, loosened them up a little bit, they got a little more relaxed. And I think you noted, first quarter might have been a little tentative, but the second quarter, once they got loosened up a little bit, got the ball to Osborne, the quarterback ran the ball a little more effectively, they started playing a little bit more reckless abandon, more looser, and I think they really got going.
We look at the holes where our offensive running backs have, Dennis. It's obvious that Centennial down linemen are not as pumped up as they were earlier in the game. They're just blowing them wide open with their runs.
Well, I think when you don't score offensively, Mark, it's very difficult for defense to hang in there. And I think, Centennial had to come out and score early in this third quarter to get back in it. And they went down here, they got the big interception. And you can see on that last drive, the defense, it's just the wind's knocked out of their sails really on that last drive. And they were just, not even hardly tackling.
But, Dennis, the problem with the last drive, Centennial had the ball for about 4 minutes. They really only gained about 10 yards on the drive. If you want to get back to a game, you're down 31-14. You got to come up with some plays that are going to gain you yardage. They had the ball for a long time, but didn't really do anything with it. And they didn't really execute plays that were going to gain any substantial yards against BHS.
Well, I think with a quarterback who's relatively inexperienced, Mark, they probably didn't want to give him too much to handle this year. And I think Snead brought him along slowly, and he doesn't have a lot in his playbook for him yet. I think next year you'll see him do a lot more, but it's always difficult, Mark, when you come in the 5th or 6th game of the year and you're expected to carry the load. There's a lot of pressure being the Centennial quarterback. They're expected to win, and I think Alexander doesn't have that kind of offensive experience right now to really do it all. And he needs help, and right now he's not getting a lot with the other offensive players.
Yeah, I think you definitely need a lot of help. One person doesn't do it all. Bynum to the 20-yard line, puts his head down to about the 27.
Kyle Bynum on the return. There is a penalty.
And now a flag down. Somebody was talking there on the field or off the field.
But I don't look at it as Alexander as the reason why Centennial is getting beat. I think the thing that really hurt Centennial was they had really no answer for Pat Osborne, especially in the second quarter there when Bakersfield really got it going. And McGill, the quarterback's been able to run the football effectively, big, strong runner. Those are the two players I thought really took the game away from Centennial after the first quarter.
Against the Golden Hawks.
Now personal foul against the Golden Hawks. Now that'll bring them back 15 yards. Things are not looking too good for them here in the second half. 9 seconds to play in the third. 38-14 BHS. And some of the Centennial contingents are leaving the field. They're leaving the stadium. We still have a quarter to play. What's going on? We had the biggest crowd of the year. Roberts wide left, Lancaster wide right. I formation for the Golden Hawks. Roberts in motion, guarded by Johnson. Morales, gain of about 3 or 4 yards to the 20-yard line. Bryce McGill and company making the tackle. That's it. After 3 from Golden Hawk Stadium, BHS 38, Centennial 14. And you're watching the high school football game of the week exclusively on CNNSI, Time Warner Cable, Channel 52.
Holiday Ford Lincoln Mercury is clearing out the 98s. Now we have $1,000 cash back, plus 0.9% financing on Escorts, Contours, Mystiques, Tracers, and Rangers. Now that's real savings. How about a red carpet lease on a new 98 Explorer? Come in and buy one, and the first payment up to $500 is on us. Don't make a wrong turn. Make the turn for Lerdo Highway in Shafter. We're easy to get to from both the 5 and 99 freeways. Say habla español.
Come to Holiday.
Roberts with a reception for Centennial. Should have the first down on the far side of the 25-yard line. BHS 38, Centennial 14. We've had a lot of great games this year on time. One of the last 2 weeks we've had what you would call blowouts. 40-7 BHS last week and 38-14 BHS tonight. And the game that most people thought would be much closer at this juncture. In fact, Centennial led at 14-10 at one point. So you can see how many points BHS has scored in a row.
Mark, if you want to have a turning point, I think 17-14 in the first half, and they got to score quickly before halftime, make it 24-14. That really hurts Centennial.
Roberts and Lancaster wide to the right. Pass over the middle is picked off by Pat Osborne. The 45 looking for a block, 40-yard line. Cuts inside and down at the 31. Another mistake by the Golden Hawks. First and 10 for BHS deep in Golden Hawk territory. And another flag thrown. A lot of talking out there tonight, that's for sure. Sean Alexander throwing that ball into heavy coverage.
Well, Mark, there was a deep zone on that last play. Alexander tried to get it over Pat Osborne. He was playing kind of center field. He just went up and got it at 6'3". But again, Alexander not reading the defense very well, throwing the ball into double coverage there. No chance to really make the reception there. And of course, Osborne gets the reception and then runs it back
well, he's had a big game tonight.
Into Centennial territory.
Talk about an all-around game for Pat. Punted the ball beautifully. He's caught some passes, thrown for a touchdown pass, had an interception, seems to be everywhere. He's not the only guy, but when you have an athlete like him that steps up, and you have James McGill and Bryce McGill, and the athletes that BHS have, when they step up and they play discipline, they're a very good team. Centennial's had a couple of personal fouls here in the last 5 minutes. Obviously due to frustration. Pass complete to Hallman on the other side. Short gain.
Pass complete to Thomas Hallman. Stopped by Travis Allen.
Well, Mark, it's a situation where Bakersfield can pretty much do whatever they want right now. They can run or pass. I mean, they have great field position deep inside Centennial territory. And, McGill has a bevy of receivers to throw to. Jennings. He can go to Osborne. He can run the football. He can get the ball to Mackey or Bryce McGill. So he has so much he can do. And I think really after the first quarter, I thought James McGill played a very fine football game tonight. He really is a key to their offense. He's got to get the ball to the right players. And tonight he's done a lot of good play calling, a lot of good decision making tonight.
James McGill back to pass, decides to run it forward inside the 10 to about the 9.
I think his running mark from the quarterback position really hurts the Centennial defense. And you're talking about Alexander. He made a couple of runs earlier in the first quarter, but McGill being much bigger compared to Alexander, he's really hurt the Centennial defense when he runs the football. And if Bakersfield advances, which it looks like they will, whoever they play next week, if it's Clovis West, the number 1 rated team, McGill's going to have to run the football effectively for them to be in the football game.
El Mackey, the single running back behind McGill. James with the keeper, and a flag is down. 9:55 to go on the clock. 38-14 BHS.
Mark, we talked about the offensive line of BHS being very effective. Tackles, Robert Bergman, Ralph Lomas. Then we got Antoine Chica and Raul Palomino, the center, Justin Smith. And then, of course, you have the fullback, John Kindred. They've done just a great job blocking for McGill, for Bryce, and James McGill, and also for Mackey. Those guys up front have really done a fine job since midway in the second quarter.
Well, we talked about some of the holes that the running backs have had since midway through the second quarter. Running was not that easy earlier in the game. The passing kind of opened that up. McGill throw looking for Osborne. Flips it high into the air. Incomplete.
Intended for Patrick Osborne.
Coverage by number 24, Unfried. Jaron Unfried for Centennial. Pass was run on the mark by James. Good coverage by the Golden Hawks.
Jaron Unfried supplying the defense for the Golden Hawks.
4th down for BHS.
And I think, Mark, we also want to say that Jermaine McDermott, Calvin Hosey, and Stansberry, Dunlap, and Aaron Graham have done a fine job defensively defensive line for BHS, and I did a fine job.
Pat Osborne will try a 32-33 yarder. He's hit one tonight. It hits the upright, bounds down, so no good. Didn't have a lot on that kick. Patty's done about everything else right tonight. It really makes no difference with the score 38-14.
Well, Mark, I think he was a little bit tired. He's been running the ball so much. Probably has a little bit less zip in that leg of his after doing, going both ways pretty much. You get run down by the fourth quarter. They probably need to give him a little bit more of a breather during the game so he can be fresher, because in next week's game, if Bakersfield's in the game by the fourth quarter, they're going to need him. The field goal might be real important.
As the ball hit the left upright and bounded out. No good. 1st and 10 for the Golden Hawks. Remain in the eye. Looking for the reverse to Lancaster to the 20-yard line. Gets a block, 25. You don't want to stop there. Driven down.
Lancaster, the ball carrier.
One thing you want to do in that position is go out of bounds and make a cutback. Don't stop in the open field. With Diaz.
Stopped by Winters.
Winters and company over there. So they could pound you good.
Well, Mark, we talked about the standings most of the year, and you talk about Clovis West really being #1 rated. Bakersfield was #2 or #3 most of the year, and of course after Centennial they went to #3. But you really had the two perennial powers. I think a lot of teams expected either Clovis West to either meet BHS or Centennial. So I think most people, if Clovis West wins, then I think most people are getting what they want, and it should be an exciting Valley Championship.
Lancaster and Roberts wide to the right for the Golden Hawks, moving right to left here in the fourth quarter. It's passing time for Sean Alexander and company. Sprint out right, looking downfield for Roberts. His pass complete to Morales out of the backfield, but a very short gain.
Jesse Morales.
They'll be shy of the 1st down. 3rd and 3 for the Golden Hawks.
Well, Mark, we've talked about those kind of plays are not going to get you a touchdown.
Diaz in on the
those are short passes in the flat that might help your stats, but it's not going to get you 6 points. So I think it's fair to say that Centennial's conceded this game. Alexander does not have the repertoire offensive play calling that he needs right now. They don't have the plays in the system for him to get the ball downfield deeper. And I think Bakersfield has been putting pretty good pass pressure on him when he tries to go deep. So right now, they're just trying to build some confidence. Maybe they can get a break here and score, but the kind of plays that they're calling are not really going to get you 6 points.
I don't think you always have to go for plays that get you 6 points, but at least 15, 20 yards down the field. Alexander running for his life to the 20-yard line. Throws it. It's intercepted by Johnson. Hayes to the 10. It'll be another touchdown for BHS. And another flag, probably against the Centennial player, who said something to the official.
On the play.
Well, Mark, what that was, Stansberry, the 295-pound defensive tackle, just leveled a Centennial player, and I think that's what the foul was. He hit him from behind.
Alexander facing a lot of pressure tonight from BHS, especially in the second half. Just unloaded that ball right into the arms of a BHS player from about 8 or 9 yards away. And Johnson had a nice smooth run down the sidelines for the touchdown. Nobody even touched him.
Mark, he leveled Abernathy on that. He tied in for Centennial. Stansberry hit him, and it was not really by the play at all. He kind of hit him from the background, from the side or the back, so it was a personal foul. But the 6 points is good. A lot of talking out there right now, Mark. I tell you, BHS had a lot of frustration last couple of years, and they're really putting it to Centennial tonight, and they're letting them know with a lot of talk. But I'll tell you one thing. Next year they play this game at Centennial, and Centennial will be ready. With a lot of juniors, you can bet they'll remember this football game.
Well, the fact is Centennial should have been ready to play tonight.
Well, I think they were. But I think Bakersfield High.
I don't think Centennial thought BHS was that good. I really don't think so. BHS, all the contention was they played in a weaker league, the Southeast Yosemite League, and I agree with that. But BHS has improved a lot since the first meeting, and I don't think the Golden Hawks thought they were that good.
After attempt by Patrick Osborne.
Long PAT attempt is good by Pat Osborne.
Well, Mark, even in the first game that they played, Bakersfield really had a good chance to win that game.
Right.
And really they should have. Diaz had fumbled the ball, and they were moving for a score. And, of course, Centennial only scored on 2 BHS turnovers. And, you know, Bakersfield gave them a touchdown early in the game when they fumbled earlier in the game. So, really, even in that game, Bakersfield really should have won, even though the score was closer. So, you know, you can't really say Bakersfield gave them the first game. I think Bakersfield was a better team the first time they played.
Well, the fact is James McGill has gained a lot of experience during the year. You brought in Bryce McGill and Alan Mackey to run in the backfield. You had a lot of, you didn't really have a consistent running game for BHS that early in the year. They had played a lot of outstanding teams back to back to back. There wasn't a consistency in their offensive attack. It's been quite evident in the last 6 games with the points BHS has scored. They've got a lot more flow in their offensive attack. James McGill's become more comfortable at quarterback. He's gone to Pat Osborne more in the last month. Pat had the broken hand, so he couldn't play wide receiver for 4 games. But I felt all along that BHS had simply just improved more than Centennial during the course of the year.
I agree with you.
Regardless of what league they played in. And I knew that would be a factor tonight if BHS played a disciplined ball game.
Well, even Coach Sneed had indicated to me earlier that the Centennial team this year was not quite at the level they were last year. But he expected them to be improved for next year. So even he admitted that.
As the kick goes through the end zone.
But Centennial's had a great year. I mean, they've really achieved quite a bit for a team that really was not playing as well as they did last year. They won the Southwest Yosemite League. They got to the semifinals of the Valley playoffs. They had to change quarterbacks in midstream. So I think they, you know, in a sense, you might say they're a little bit overachievers. They weren't as big or as physical as they had been in past years. Basically went with one running back, a lot of new receivers, a new quarterback. I think they did pretty good.
Well, I think the consensus will be that Centennial overachieves more than BHS does. At least they have maybe throughout the course of the year, but not tonight. Lancaster, Roberts wide to the right for the Golden Hawks. 7:30 to play. 45-14 BHS. Inside handoff. Now the BHS defense, like they have done so much this year, forcing mistakes by the other team's offense. And when they have them down, they just go for the kill. Well, this has been a story for BHS for the last 7 or 8 weeks, so it's really nothing new. They're used to it on the other side. They're just not used to it when they play the Golden Hawks.
Well, it's very difficult to throw the ball against the Bakersfield defense because their defensive backs are so agile and so quick and mobile. But Alexander, being a young quarterback, really is struggling to throw that ball. He's throwing that ball in double coverage. He's not reading defenses very well, which he has to improve upon.
Well, he's been forcing the ball quite a bit. Now you have McGill and Osborne deep for BHS, and that's 2 6'3" players. Run up the middle across the 30-yard line. Should get the first down for the Golden Hawks. Seeley's the ball carrier.
He's a fine football player, isn't he, Mark? That fullback, Justin Seeley, about 6'2", 220, and a great blocker all this year for Morales. A solid-looking football player. I think he's definitely a D1 prospect, or you know, at least go to college and play, because I think he's got some talent.
Roberts wide left. Lancaster wide to the right. BHS with the majority of their starters in there.
Bynum, the ball carrier.
I think in this situation, Mark, Centennial just doesn't want to put the ball in the air much. You know, there's been so many turnovers, and you hurt the confidence of the quarterback. And I think he's in a situation now, and Coach Sneed is, hey, let's just run the clock out. Let's get out of here. The game's over with. No reason to put the ball up and have any more turnovers. And I think that's kind of how he sees it right now.
2nd and 9 for Centennial. At their own 33-yard line, Roberts in motion. Seeley's. Faked handoff. Alexander with the keeper. Left side across the 35 to about the 38. Nice fake to Seeley's up the middle. It'll be 2nd and call it 3rd down. 3rd and 5 for the Golden Hawks. 5:33 on the clock. 45-14 BHS. They turned it around midway through the 2nd quarter.
One thing they've done, we've always said they need to do, and need to do it often, is get the ball to Pat Osborne, get the ball in his hands, no matter what it takes.
I formation for the Golden Hawks. Alexander with the long count. On the option. Tries to pitch it, fumbles the ball. I think the Drillers have it. Yes, they do.
For Mark, Alexander's really had a rough game tonight, throwing the football and then not running that option. He has just made one turnover after another, and well, they're going to have to really work with him here in the summer to get his game down pat, because he's got some talent at quarterback. He looked pretty good in the first quarter. He's got some agility, but I think he's kind of short. Sometimes he has trouble seeing over the defense, but right now he's just got to worry about making those turnovers. He had 3 interceptions last week. Tonight he's come up with a lot of interceptions, fumbles, turnovers. He's going to have to eliminate those mistakes if he wants to be successful.
Well, the pressure has begun the last 2 weeks in the playoffs, and that's when the mistakes have come. That time he got his, he tried to pitch the ball out. Kindred right up the middle.
Kindred, the ball carrier.
Across the 30 to about the 29-yard line.
Stopped by Lee Payne.
Payne making the tackle.
If I'm BHS here, I just run that football and see if I can run the clock out. I don't really know if I'd want to be going for any passes here. I think that might create some bad blood between maybe coaching staffs. I think the game's over with now. Why not just use the clock and keep the ball on the ground? I think that'd be the smart idea.
Hallman, wide right for BHS. The quarterback Sears gives it to Kindred, hit in the backfield and dropped. Lose a couple of yards. New players in there for the Golden Hawks.
Kindred, the ball carrier, stopped
And
by
also
Jose
for the
Gonzalez.
Drillers. Anthony Sears, a quarterback, 6'3", 230. A junior for BHS. Boy, they grow his quarterbacks big in Driller land.
Probably be the quarterback next year with James McGill leaving. But
Anthony
Sears didn't get much
is
playing
now
time this
quarterback
year. But like
the
you say,
Drillers.
being 6'3", about 220, he's a junior. He looks like the man to be coming back next year. With Mackey, a junior, returning maybe a running back.
As you know, McGill played mostly defense last year. Sears on the keeper. Look at him power his way forward to about the
Sears
26-yard line. 3:40 on the clock.
Of course, Mark, BHS loses most of their players, but Robert Bergman, 1 tackle, and Lomas, the other tackle, both juniors, they'll be back, along with Mackey, running back. Sears probably be the quarterback next year. And so those are the key players that are coming back offensively for him.
Is Bryce McGill a senior or junior?
4th and 1.
Bryce McGill's a senior, but Alan Mackey is a junior.
You're right. Sears on a keeper. Fights his way to about the 23-yard line. He'll have the first down and another flag.
Sears keeps the ball and picks up a first down. There is a penalty flag.
You know, both coaching staffs really need to talk to their players right now, Mark. We've had a lot of penalties here in the 4th quarter, personal fouls, face masks. They need to, just call a timeout and talk to both teams.
Face mask penalty against Centennial.
But, the play has really deteriorated here, and, you don't want to see anything really serious happen, especially for BHS, because they have a game next week. You don't want to get anybody injured. So I think if you're Coach Harnett, you take some of your starters out now. So nobody gets hurt. Osborne should not be in the game, and some of these other guys, I think they all took him out. But I wouldn't have any starters in there now.
A face masking penalty against Centennial. 1st and 10 for BHS at the 14-yard line. You have Kindred at fullback. Played there most of the game. Look like it might be against BHS. Motion or moving too soon. At 2:58 on the clock. It has been a long evening for the Centennial Golden Hawks, but a great season. And very quiet fans. We've done a lot of games here at the Golden Hawk Stadium. This is the quietest I've ever seen it here at Centennial, at least for half of the game. The biggest crowd ever for a game at Golden Hawk Stadium.
Is it one of the biggest crowds you've done a game for in high school? One of the stadiums, isn't it, Mark, in the high school level? One of the biggest crowds tonight.
Yes, it is. But the home crowd is very quiet. Another flag.
Probably the biggest game as far as attendance that we've had doing Time Warner football games at a high school football field. I think so. But I heard a couple years ago, Garces played Centennial here, and that was for the SSL championship, and I heard that had a big crowd.
I was here for that game. And Garces won.
Garces always likes to win.
Garces beat Centennial twice when they were in the South Dakota League, but the Rams haven't come close since then against the Golden Hawks. 2:25 left. Pitch back. Running back in there for BHS. Number 29. Clock continues to run down in this ball game.
Cameron Campbell, the ball carrier.
Well, Campbell, he's had a fairly good year. Over 100 yards for BHS.
I'm thinking when you say fairly good year, and I think of a player who played here a couple years ago, Steve Wofford. He'd have 100 yards in the first quarter. You know, and you talk about him, Mark, at Southern University. They're in a bowl game again. They've had a great year, and he has approaching about 1,500 yards this year with about 13 touchdowns, similar to what he did last year for Southern University in Louisiana.
They won their conference, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Pitch back, 25, 20-yard line.
Once again.
Campbell. He's down after a gain of 2 or 3 yards.
And you talk about Steve Wofford, and of course James Wofford's over at University of Nevada, Las Vegas. And
now they've had a tough season.
Yeah, and he's done a fine job as a sophomore running back, and so both Woffords are doing very well at Division I football programs this year.
Unfortunately for James, I think their team's won a game this year, and their coach will be fired if he has been already at the end of the season, Jeff Horton. He has some great teams at the University of Nevada, Reno. Did okay at UNLV for a while and has struggled the last 2 years. And they gave him the pink slip. James Sears on the keeper up the middle to about the 15-yard line.
Sears the ball carrier.
50 seconds to play in this game.
Well, Mark,
BHS advances to the Yosemite Division Large Schools Championship.
Excuse me, I was going to say that I think it was just a really an exciting game tonight. A big rivalry here, probably the best rivalry in Kern County. And I think Bakersfield just a little bit too much offensively and defensively. More experience at quarterback. I think that was really a key tonight. McGill much more effective than Alexander tonight. And, of course, nobody has anybody like Pat Osborne. So the McGill to Osborne combination plus the more experienced driller defense is really the difference tonight. And too many turnovers for the Golden Hawks. You just can't make those kind of turnovers against the BHS team. They're too experienced, and they took advantage of them tonight.
And now the run up the middle. The clock will expire. 11 seconds to play. 45-14 should be the final score. BHS over Centennial tonight in this game at Golden Hawk Stadium. Large crowd on hand. Many of them have left since early in the fourth quarter. But it's been a great season for Centennial. They conclude the year with a record of 10-2. And BHS moves on with a record of 10-2. 8 consecutive victories for the Drillers after being 2-2 after the loss to Concord de La Salle and Centennial. But nobody has beaten Concord in, what, about 8 years. Clock is stopped at 11 seconds. Centennial will have it for the final play of their season. Or maybe the second to the last play of their season, 1st and 10. Alexander with a handoff to Seeley's. Across the 15 to about the 17-yard line. And that should be it tonight. Big victory for BHS. Al Mack and company celebrating at midfield as they advance to the Yosemite Division Large Schools Championship, blowing away Centennial tonight on their home turf, 45-14. Centennial ends their season at 10-2. BHS moves on for the record of 10-2. Dennis Heffernan will have some interviews on the field. I'm Mark Heffernan on CNNSI, Time Warner Cable, Channel 52.
Always get the names and addresses of witnesses. Don't rely on busy police to do this for you. If injured, be sure to have a medical examination. Talk to an experienced lawyer before you talk to the insurance adjusters. If you'd like to know more, call or come by Chain Younger today and pick up your copy of the accident guide.
Chain Younger. When you need us, we'll be there. We have been for over 60 years.
Harold, this tape from Greece doesn't play.
Around the world, there are many different formats for VHS tapes. So if you have problems with a tape from a foreign country, call Time Warner Productions. For $29.95, Time Warner Productions can convert the tape to a format that plays in your home VCR or change your tape to any format from around the world. From quality copies of home videos, large quantity duplications.
Harold, the tape's broken.
Or tape repair. Time Warner Productions is your best choice for video services.
Holiday Ford Lincoln Mercury is clearing out the 98s. Now we have $1,000 cash back, plus 0.9% financing on Escorts, Contours, Mystiques, Tracers, and Rangers. Now that's real savings. How about a red carpet lease on a new 98 Explorer? Come in and buy one, and the first payment up to $500 is on us. Don't make a wrong turn. Make the turn for Lerdo Highway in Shafter. We're easy to get to from both the 5 and 99 freeways. Say habla español.
Come to Holiday.
Dominating performance tonight by BHS as they blast Centennial 45-14 in the Yosemite Division Large School semifinals. Dennis Heffern is down on the field with James McGill.
Hi, this is Dennis on the post-game show. Tonight in the semifinal game, BHS victorious 45-14 over Centennial. We're here with the quarterback for the BHS Drillers, James McGill. James, you had a fine football game tonight. Were there any keys tonight to the football game? Because you played them earlier and got beat 14-10. What were some of the adjustments you made from that first game to tonight?
Well, the only problem was last game was that we turned the ball over. This game we only turned the ball over one time. So we're looking good on offense, and defense plays tremendously well, and they play really good.
Yeah, I thought, especially in the second quarter, you started running the football from the quarterback position, which you didn't do so much in the first quarter, and it seemed to really open up the offense.
Yeah, well, offense opened up right as I go on. So when I started rolling, they started rolling. And once we start rolling, we're hard to be stopped.
And I also noticed number 4 got into the act, Pat Osborne. He made some big passes to him really there in the second quarter, really broke the game open 24-14 at halftime.
Yeah, he broke the game open. Pat makes the good plays for us, and we all make good plays, and offense was doing real well tonight.
Yeah, it just seemed like the offense and defense, you guys really got together. How was the emotion tonight trying to get back at these guys after 2 straight losses?
Well, we're looking forward to winning this one because we haven't beat them since Jack Frost here, so we're looking forward to coming out here playing a hard football game.
And, of course, next week, the Valley Finals, you're in again. Last year, Clovis beat you. What's the mental state of the team going in next week's game, the final game of the year?
Just playing football. You know, we've been there before, so we know what to expect. So we're looking for almost the same thing as last year.
Okay, well, good luck. Congratulations on tonight's football game.
Thanks.
And that'll wrap it up tonight. Final score, BHS 45, Centennial 14. Thanks for watching. Well, Mark, West has been tough down here. Second time North's been knocking at the door, and now we're down here again if you're North High, and West High defense is trying to rise to the occasion again to maybe keep North High out of the end zone. We'll see what they can do.
North High at the West 12-yard line. 1 minute to play in the first quarter. Pitch back to Krellin. Looking for the cut inside. Now goes outside. West strings it out and brings them down inside the 10 at the 9. Excellent job by the West High D. They contained Krellin very well in that run. He thought about cutting it inside. They were there. Then he decided to go to the outside, and they were there. They just kind of strung it out very well. And for North High, they're at the 9-yard line. Third down for North as the clock is expiring here in the first quarter.
Well, Mark, we talked about the West High defense and the fact that they were 23rd out of 24 teams against the run, but in this game, they're playing very emotional, very inspired, and they came to play tonight.
Quarterback to throw, and he's sacked at the 15-yard line. Number 20 in there for West High. Cody Glasner had a couple of big plays of late in the series. So North High quarterback Tim Hatton has been sacked twice tonight. And on fourth down, I guess North will be going for a field goal.
Again, good pressure by the West interior line. North was in a passing situation. Hatton took about a 5-step drop. Probably took a little bit too much time on that play, Mark. And West was able to come in and make the big sack.
After one, it's West High 7, North nothing. You're watching the Prep Football Game of the Week on CNN SI, Time Warner Cable, Channel 52.
Holiday Ford Lincoln Mercury is clearing out the 98s. Now we have $1,000 cash back, plus 0.9% financing on Escorts, Contours, Mystiques, Tracers, and Rangers. Now that's real savings. How about a red carpet lease on a new 98 Explorer? Come in and buy one, and the first payment up to $500 is on us. Don't make a wrong turn. Make the turn for Lerdo Highway in Shafter. We're easy to get to from both the 5 and 99 freeways. Say habla español.
Come to Holiday.